He said not yet.
I was hoping.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Tonight is a conference meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township, held here in Council Chambers in City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, May 5th, 2015 at 7 p.m. As many know, back in the first meeting of April, we voted to appoint our new registered municipal clerk, and I'm going to give her an opportunity before she does the roll call, Mrs. Joyce Lanier, to just say welcome and introduce herself. And this is her first meeting as she's sitting. And
okay, well, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Municipal Council. I look forward to serving you. I look forward to serving the citizens of Orange and the community at large. I ask that everyone please be patient. It's a large learning curve, and it's a lot of work to do here, and it's an abundance of work. But thank you very much. Roll call. Councilman Coley.
Coley present.
Councilman Corbett.
Here.
Councilwoman Eason.
Here.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Present.
Councilman Johnson Jr. Absent. Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Present.
Council President Williams.
present.
Also present, myself, Ms. Lanier, Municipal Clerk, Mr. White, Assistant City Attorney, Mr. Mack, Director of Finance, Ms. Lascari, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Harris, Legislative Research Officer, Mr. Mays, Administration Representative, and Ms. Homier, Clerk's Office. Please stand for a moment of silence.
And as we stand today, the funeral for Mr. Monica was today. And Mr. Monica was probably Mr. Orange. He died on May 1st. His funeral was today at Ippolito's in Caldwell. So if we can just dedicate this moment of silence to Mr. Tony Monica.
Please be apprised, anyone wishing to discuss agenda or general items shall sign one book. There will be 2 columns in the book, one for agenda items and one for general issues. Each person signing the book will check agenda items or general issues. If they check only agenda items or general issues, they will be allowed to speak for 5 minutes. If they check general issues and agenda items, they will be allowed to speak for 10 minutes. The requirement of NJSA 10:4-9 et seq. The Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the Record Transcript on July 17, 2014, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall, and filed in the office of the City Clerk. Matters for discussion, Council President?
Thank you. Tonight we are we have the great opportunity to have our legislators from both the state and from the state here, both our senator and our assembly people. I think it's very important that the citizens of Orange get to hear what other legislators are working on that will impact our city, as well as understand the different levels of government. I'm going to call on Senator Nia Gill first, and then Assemblywoman Oliver, followed by Assemblyman Givlin, just because I think ladies, and I'm sure Assemblyman Givlin doesn't mind.
Thank you, Council President Williams, for the invitation, and to the entire council. Thank you for your work. It's an honor to represent Orange in the Senate, and actually I represented Orange, the city, for 7 years as an assemblywoman. And during my time representing Orange, I had the opportunity to develop strong ties to the community. As a result, my office works every day to meet the needs of the constituents of the 34th District, including a large number of Orange residents. Like all of you, I have been an advocate long before I sought elective office. I have stood up for equality and created opportunities in our community. And I am here before you today because of my commitment to stand up for the issues that matter to our community. Access, opportunity, and equality are all battles for which I have become known, but Perhaps the most important point is that I have always understood that service isn't about talk, it's about action. I have taken tough stands even when it isn't popular, and I have done it because it's worth fighting for the future of the people we represent. During my time in public office, I fought for and will continue to fight for economic and social change, and nobody has fought harder to protect public education, expand access to health care, curb gun violence, and ensure our voting rights. I'm here this evening to update you on how I am working to serve the people of the 34th District, which includes the City of Orange. I support public education, and when the governor decimated the state school funding formula, I stood with local districts to fully fund the state's suburban and urban districts. Real property tax relief for Orange in our state will be fully realized when we have full funding of the school formula, providing the needed funding to invest in our children, our property taxes, and our community. I believe that in order to support our children, we need to support our teachers. That is why I am the sponsor of legislation to establish a loan redemption program for New Jersey teachers. The program would allow teachers to have a portion of their undergraduate loans forgiven by the state in exchange for work in the schools of New Jersey. Throughout my career, I fought for property tax reform to keep older New Jerseyans in their homes, to expand the senior freeze, as well as authored legislation to ease the transition to assisted living for seniors who need extra care. I am, as you know, the chair of the Senate Commerce Committee, which handles all banking and insurance issues for the Senate. As chair and your representative, I am partnering with the federal government, community organizations to implement President Obama's health care reform. As a result of the Affordable Care Act, over 650,000 New Jersey residents have signed up for coverage. Over 250,000 through the marketplace, and 400,000 enrolled in family care. This represents a dramatic decrease in the number of uninsured in our state, but that doesn't mean our work is done. We must bring awareness to this issue and to conduct outreach in our communities because it is important for our constituents to be informed about their health care options and ultimately to get insured. We have an obligation to do everything we can for working people of our state and city. That is why I have worked with Speaker Oliver and Assemblyman Giblin to make New Jersey more affordable. Together, we raised the minimum wage in New Jersey, fought to increase taxes on millionaires, and passed a job package that would have overhauled the corporate business tax, provide breaks for small businesses, owners, and created a program in which residents receive training for 6 weeks up to 24 hours a week. In addition, I authored the legislation that passed the Senate that would end employment discrimination based on individual credit history. The use of credit history as a tool to all applicants is a form of punishment. So what happens is that you go to get a job and they check your credit. And if you don't have good credit, then you don't get a job. It is absolutely unfair to penalize those who are attempting to regain their financial footing. This legislation would end this practice. As one of the sponsors of the New Jersey Micro Business Credit Act, I helped to create a program that is administered by the Department of the Community Affairs that assists women-owned small businesses by providing loans and training to ensure these businesses have tools to remain viable. I am the sponsor of, along with my colleagues, the New Jersey Paid Sick Leave Bill. The use of illegal guns in our community must stop. While we wait action by Congress, we cannot sit idly by. As someone who has worked on these issues throughout my career, including spearheading passage of a law to help redirect our youth from gang activity, I know it will take hard work. However, we must forge ahead. I have introduced legislation that will close the loopholes in our assault weapons ban. We must also ensure that all ammunition sales are controlled. Under the current law, only the sale of handgun ammunition is regulated. Legislation that I am sponsoring would establish a similar regulatory program governing the sale of all ammunition. This bill would close the loophole that allows anyone, right now, anyone, can purchase ammunition for a rifle and shotguns. The bill states that in order to purchase ammunition, you must meet the state requirements to purchase a gun. If you do not meet those requirements, then you cannot purchase ammunition. Right now, you can purchase ammunition for a rifle and a shotgun at any age, 12, 11, 10. Under my bill, you would have to be at least 18. Just as important, we must also require that all purchasers and transfer of ammunition is done face-to-face. No more should you have the ability to purchase hundreds of rounds of ammunition on the internet, essentially undetected by law enforcement officials or anyone else. I'm proud to announce that the legislation I supported to increase transparency and oversight of, you probably heard, the 1033 program. The law, and it was signed into law, and it's the only law in the United States. The law crafted following the issues in Ferguson, Missouri, and now it requires town councils to approve by resolution the acquisition of military equipment through programs by local law enforcement agencies. The local governing board now must approve the enrollment of a county or municipal law enforcement agency in the 1033 program. This is a major victory because the militarized weapons that were more attuned to a war zone were made without the purchase, knowledge, transparency, and participation of all the citizens. And in conclusion, we understand there are few rights that are more important than a citizen's right to participate in democracy. If you travel around the world to promote, and if we as a nation can travel around the world to promote democracy and the right to vote, we must be willing to invest in the infrastructure here at home to make sure we're effective. So we have sponsored early voting. The governor has vetoed it twice, but we will continue to reflect what's necessary with respect to early voting. So it is my honor to represent Orange in the State Senate, and I thank you for inviting me to speak today.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank
If you would just stay and just let council members, if they have any questions based on your presentation. Councilman Corbett.
Obviously, you've been busy,
Lightly.
which is a marvelous thing. You and I have had conversations on gun control, and I can publicly tell you that I'm grateful for what you have done, but I'm not satisfied.
And neither am I.
And that's good to know, because I believe that in particular in the urban community, where gun violence runs rampant almost daily, there doesn't seem to be any kind of restraints placed on individuals or gun control as it relates to the urban community. And I would like to see something in place that pretty much prohibits. I don't know if it can be done because of the power and the authority of the NRA, but something has to be done where we can spare the lives of some of our young black men who are senselessly losing their lives behind gun violence. So I don't know what it's going to take. I know it's going to take a collective effort for something that is with real substance to give better control of gun violence in our community. Maybe you can take on that challenge along with some of your other colleagues. sitting in the council chambers and make something really, really happen where we can feel safe in our streets. Don't have to be concerned about going from place to place and shopping facilities that are in Newark, Orange, East Orange, right in our urban community, and not have to worry about gunshots. In particular, even while we're laying in our bed sleeping at night. It's a painful thing to see folks go through the loss of a young man and their family, to see the hurt and the pain that they go through, the tears flowing down their faces when it's senseless. So I'm very passionate about it, and I really, really want to see something done about it. Another thing that I would like to see is better control or better laws on the books as it relates to domestic violence, in particular the victims, who have gone through all the channels, restraining orders, temporary and final, and yet still are in abusive relationships. Folks are killed in domestic violence issues. So when it comes to women who are abused and who have gone through all the channels of trying to protect themselves, and I know this may be to the extreme, but Assemblyman Gimlin and myself had this conversation. Something along the lines in my mind of stand your ground rule that they have in Florida. I know that's a bit excessive, but at some point in time they should be able to defend themselves without real consequences after they've gone through so much hell, if you forgive my language. But it's not right, and they should be better protected by some laws on the books that will protect them through that harsh situation. And Medicaid, finally Medicaid. I'm baffled, I don't understand. In urban communities and with people who are on fixed incomes, who apply for Medicaid, some folks can't get it who are on Social Security. They are told that they get too much income. When I know people who live in Short Hills, the richest community in the nation, folks are receiving Medicaid. Folks in North Caldwell are receiving Medicaid. I don't get it. I don't understand. In order to live in those neighborhoods, you have to be doing pretty well. I don't understand how they're able to get Medicaid, but yet folks on fixed incomes are told no, they can't get it because they get too much money. Something's wrong with that picture. So that's another something that maybe you guys can work on, bring some real resolution, make that playing field level for all who are in need of Medicaid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Eason.
You're not in. Since you are head of education, you know my pet peeve. I just want to know, how do you feel about parks?
Councilwoman, they can't hear you in the back.
Can you hear me? Quick in maybe a couple of minutes. How do you feel about park testing?
Well,
Talk in your Councilwoman Eason voice.
well, I've signed on the bills with respect to park. 2 of my bills will be up soon, but we have signed on to, and I am a sponsor of the 3-year issue of not using the results. I certainly on the bill that talks about you should not use park as a reason to reduce funding to the schools. I am also a sponsor of the bill on a park that says you will have to have transparency with respect to how many people opt out. And so I think that a park is maybe not the most productive way to teach children. And I think park may also lead to the things that we have always fought against, like tracking. That may be an unintended consequence of park. And so there are major issues with it.
My second part is, are you all going to collect any of the data or feedback as to how it was implemented and handled in the school districts? I'm in a high school, and it has been the most disruptive test that I've ever seen given, because it was dumped on them at a moment's notice, and our kids really haven't had any academic instruction per se since it started. So I think in a way it has sort of curtailed them being able to teach the students, because every day is nothing but park, park, park. So there's no learning taking place. So as you guys go through that, I mean, we have to figure out a way so that it is handled more, less disruptive to the students' learning process. I don't know about any other schools, but I know the high school, it's a mess. So I just wanted to give you that feedback.
Well, I live in a town that had probably one of the largest opt-out numbers in the state. So Montclair had a large opt-out.
Any other council members? I just,
Yes, Council
Councilman
President.
Coley.
Yes. While I have all three of our legislators here, this has been an issue that's been bothering me for a number of years. The exit ramp on 280 as you come on to South Center Street, it's only like one lane. And if you travel
Eastbound?
No, westbound.
Westbound.
As you come off 280 westbound on the South Center Street, if you travel that highway as often as I do, during all hours of the day, you will see that it backs up because of the, as you proceed onto the exit ramp, you have to wait for the traffic light to change and it backs up onto the highway. I would like for our legislators, if we could get some money to widen that exit ramp so it could be 2 lanes, so it would ease the flow of traffic off the highway and it could make our commute a little better here in Orange.
I think we have some. I think we have some news with respect to that you may actually like, and I will let Sheila take that up.
And Senator Gill, just before you leave, and you can, you don't have to respond, or when you can, regarding early voting, when the governor vetoes it, does he give a reason, or he just vetoes it?
He can do 2 things. He gave a veto message when he vetoed it, and he said it was too expensive, and then it would have, probably cost maybe, I guess, for the first year that we did it, maybe I think it was about 15. How much was it? 25. He said that was too expensive, and then he immediately ordered a special election for the United States Senate
And I'll just take note.
that cost more than or equal to what it would have cost for early voting for our, and to make sure that in some instances early voting would not be available for certain events that one had anticipated might have taken place. But for the one election, we could have instituted early voting as a statutory requirement.
I'll just note, I happened to had the privilege to work with Chris Durkin right during the Sandy, and it was because of the relaxed standards during that, the robust voting. So I just think that if we keep pursuing the early voting, it will be very good for the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, I just want to finish. In addition to that exit ramp, if and when we can get that money to widen that ramp, we should also change the traffic patterns so when you come off the highway, you can make the left and the right. Because I don't know if any of you travel to Newport Cinema as you go into the Holland Tunnel, it's the same type of setup where you can make the left or the right or go straight. So I'm sure we can get that same type of convenience here in Orange.
And I'm sure that when Assemblywoman Oliver, Speaker Oliver, gives her presentation, don't clap so loud, but you can clap very
Thank you,
loud.
Madam Secretary.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Senator Gill.
Thank you.
Assemblywoman Oliver.
Good evening, Council President, and to the members of the Municipal Council. And I love to always say the City of Orange Township, and because that is your official name.
Yes.
And I do like the signage when you're entering the city. I also would like to thank the Council President for extending an invitation to myself and my colleagues from the 34th Legislative District to kind of give you a sense of we do need to stay on top of the interconnectivity between the municipal, the county, and the state and the federal level, because oftentimes we could potentially work at counterproductive directions. And so I think it is very healthy for us to be here this evening. Couple of things I want to comment on, and then I want to share with you some of the things that I've been working on in the legislature. First of all, I'm going to begin by saying, if you read the newspaper or you watch TV, you probably know that the State House has been pretty quiet for the past several months. And we are dealing with some significant economic constraints. You know that we are on hiatus right now. We're on what we call budget break. But the legislature is going to be challenged to vote on a budget by June 30th. And you know the way the process works. The governor gave us his budget message in June. He delivered a budget to the legislature. Both houses are now going through the process of going section by section, department by department. Hearings are conducted in both houses, and we try to get into the weeds in terms of the implications for some of the governor's proposals. Now, the legislature ultimately always changes the document that the governor presented us with based on what we hear from municipalities, other stakeholder organizations around the state, and what we know from our own involvement in our own legislative districts. What occurs after that process, which will conclude probably in the next several weeks, the Constitution then demands that a budget bill be produced by the General Assembly. And I suppose the reason the budget bill generates in the General Assembly, if you look historically, is because just like the U.S. House of Representatives has more representation on behalf of constituencies, so too does the General Assembly. So it is the job we have in the Assembly then, when this process is done, our legislative leadership in the Assembly then begins to produce the budget document. Legislators have the opportunity to introduce budget bills. If something that is of interest to us or to the people that we serve is not reflected in the budget, we can introduce bills. That process in the Assembly is Assembly members will be instructed that they can go online, they can enter and introduce budget bills, and these then become part of the budget. Generally, you will see legislators from all over the state come with the similar bill, and we'll merge everything together. So that is, it's a very tedious process. So that's what we're in the middle of now, budget break. I want to make reference to Councilman Corbett's issue about Medicaid. And yes, you could conceivably see someone that lives in a more affluent community receive Medicaid. But remember that Medicaid is a federally operated program. The federal government hands down the rules to the states and to the counties, and it is a means-tested eligibility. What I think many people who you might perceive to be affluent do in order to make themselves eligible for Medicaid, they will absolve themselves of all assets that they have. So they will sign their home over to a family member. If they have money in the bank, they'll give it to their son. And many times you'll see older adults in affluent communities do that because they require long-term health care coverage. They need to be in nursing homes. They need to be in rehabilitative facilities. But you will not be eligible for Medicaid to pay for that if you own certain assets. There was at one point you couldn't even own a car. So I think until families become educated with how to be prepared when you want to think you want to seek to apply for Medicaid, you have to have a thorough understanding of what you have to make decisions about in terms of any assets you've accumulated during your lifetime. But that's why you can see someone in an affluent community like Short Hills have a Medicaid card and be able to go into the Inglenook extended care facility that you see in Livingston. So that's the issue with Medicaid. And I'm going to talk about some issues specifically that I need to bring to your attention, but I want to respond to a couple of issues that were raised. Park testing. One thing that is no doubt bipartisan in the state legislature is the issue of park. And I think that if urban school districts were the only voices out there raising issue with park testing, it wouldn't be a statewide policy issue. But from one end of this state to the other, in all 21 counties, there is unilateral bipartisan support in terms of dealing with removing some of this clampdown that is on school districts. But know that the culprit here is the federal government. Because when federal legislation created Leave No Child Behind, Leave No Child Behind had incorporated into it some requirements for this type of testing, and for this testing to be tied to the evaluation of teachers. So the federal government created this monster. And in some regard, certain flows of federal funding got tied to a state implementing park. So when we talk about park, we need the discussion not just with state legislators and local municipal council members, but our congresspeople and our senators have to be involved in this, because we bear no influence. But the thing we have in our favor is that social conservatives don't like park either. And we'll see where we go. But there are a number of bills that have been introduced, as Senator Gill pointed to it. I know in the Assembly, most of our Essex Assembly people are on bills to do moratoriums, etc. And while I'm on the issue of park, I want to make mention of the temperature in the legislature as it relates to charter schools and charter expansion. I'm going to preface my remarks first by saying that I support all kinds of education. I don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all for every student. What I also believe in is smaller learning communities. I think for some of our students who come to school with such myriad of challenges in their lives, they get lost in a big school system. So I'm hoping that many of our urban districts will move towards creating smaller learning communities, or as they once did at Louise Spencer in Newark, you had one school, but there were 2 or 3 academies within the school, so you could reduce down the population. But that's one of the challenges that gets represented. I know Councilwoman Eason has a lot of experience with East Orange Campus High, and I know that one of the challenges, in my opinion, with East Orange Campus High is that it is too big, particularly for students who come with a lot of baggage. So we've got to work on that. But you will find that we are going to continue to have the battle in the legislature over who gets state aid for public education and who does not. The law is clear. The Supreme Court has spoken. Our special needs districts are entitled to the funding that they have. They're being short-shrifted because we're not fully funded, as Senator Gill pointed out. And some years back, she was instrumental during prior administrations in making certain that our schools got what they deserved. But we're dealing with a different administration which is trying to wobble around full funding of urban schools. So we've got some challenges on the whole educational funding. I think that I tell most school reformers that no one is against school reform. We are not. We know for our children to be globally competitive, to be able to enter the labor market, and to be able to pursue higher education, they are in an extremely competitive environment. And we have to make certain that our children are able to articulate, that our children broaden their vocabularies, that they broaden their ability to read and have knowledge. I was pleased to be with many of the council members at the Orange Library the other night, where we were celebrating the 130th anniversary of the Orange Public Library, because there is no doubt children will perform at an optimum level. It can't just be the education they get in the classroom. They must have what I call supplementary learning experiences. Our children have to have the ability to travel. They have to have the ability to be exposed to cultures other than their own. These are the challenges represented to us in educating particularly urban schools, and it costs money to do these things. So, you know, I'm looking forward to maybe the next administration to be able to address some of these issues, because I'll be quite candid, none of these issues are going to be dealt with in the next 2 years in this administration. One of the things, and speaking of education, I just wanted to mention the issue of the DREAM Act, and that is another thing being debated in the legislature. And you know that we are home to many young people who are what we call undocumented. And Orange certainly has a significant population of families who are undocumented. And there have been efforts in the legislature to seek to enable students who don't have citizenship but went to school in New Jersey to be able to receive financial aid. I think that in substance, we all agree that that potentially could be fair. But the bills that have been introduced, the one that, you know, was that sought to get passage last year, was one that said if you had been in a high school in New Jersey for 3 years, you would be able to qualify for financial aid. Now, I don't mean to be a mean-spirited person, but we are significantly underfunding financial aid in this state. If you talk to any college president in New Jersey, they will tell you how challenged they are, because we have, in the past several years, reduced down funding. I am willing to explore and work with legislators in terms of opening up opportunities for young people who are undocumented, but realistically, I don't think it should be a political football with people trying to appease constituency populations. The issue has got to be the appropriation of more money into financial aid pots at the State Department of Education. And I talk to constituents right in Orange Township and Clifton and East Orange and Montclair who feel that if their child attended school in New Jersey from K through 12, and that now they have to compete with someone who's just been here for 3 years, they feel that that is unfair. So this is a public policy issue that we have to figure out in New Jersey. There is validity to both sides of the argument, but what we do know, an educated New Jersey is better for all of us, because it is more people working, more job creators, etc. So you've heard reference to it, the DREAM Act, and we passed one portion of it last year. We now do permit undocumented students to pay in-state tuition, where in the past they had to pay out-of-state tuition rates, which is significantly higher. I am working on legislation that I think is important to many of us to introduce a law that would require the appointment of a special prosecutor when there is a police-involved fatality or death. And I'm going to be introducing a bill Thursday with Senator Peter Barnes. Pete Barnes is a lawyer. He chaired our Judiciary Committee in the Assembly. And what got us interested in this was a case down in Burlington County where a young man, you know, had a routine traffic stop and he ended up dead. We're seeing instances of this all over the country. But I had to tell Senator Barnes the other day that I may want to change my mind, because I certainly am in support of a local prosecutor in Baltimore being able to move forward with a prosecution. But know that our attention is on this issue of police deaths. This is a very complex issue. I think that we cannot negate that there are bad people in our communities doing bad things. And we do need to have people who are subjected to the strong force of the law. There is no doubt about that. And when you speak of domestic violence, we are mourning the death of a 27-year-old teacher who lived on Tremont Avenue, who had a child with a gentleman, who shot her dead on the front steps. Assemblyman Giblin has been working for several years with the Paul family in Montclair. Similar thing happened as well. I do not believe that second chances are for everybody, and we'll get to the bottom of that. But the issue of domestic violence, a lot of work has to be done, and that work requires money as well. Because and I'm going to use woman, but it could happen with males. But for women to make a conscious decision to get away from their abuser, they need a place to live, they need household money, they need the ability to be safe. And right now, we are not providing adequate resources to nonprofits and community groups and faith-based groups in the community to do that. On Friday of this week, the Jewish Community Centers of Metro West are sponsoring a forum on domestic violence at their West Orange facility on Northfield Avenue. Cuts across all socioeconomic lines. It's Jewish Community Centers Metro West, and they're at 739 Northfield Avenue in West Orange. But
What's the date?
It's this Friday.
You have a time?
I think it is at 10 a.m. And if you can track down Melanie Gorlick, she's the coordinator of the seminar that's being held. So I think we're all on point with you with the issue of domestic violence. The roadway work, Councilman Coley, that you point out with that access road, I know it very well, I ride it often. We have a problem in that we lack funding to improve our road infrastructure in New Jersey. And Assemblyman Prieto, our speaker, was one of the first in the beginning of the year to speak about potentially adding on a penny or two onto the gas tax. You hear it called the Transportation Trust Fund. That is the money that we use to fix roads and bridges in this state. It is the way you, as a municipality, get state funding. Because I'm going to tell you, I drive up and down Main Street. I know every pothole from Scotland Road up to the West Orange line. But you need money to fix those things. And without a replenished transportation trust fund, you're not going to have the ability to do it. Some of our roads are county roads, some of them are municipal, some of them are state. Our transportation trust fund is depleted. What we're basically doing with the appropriation you see in the budget is paying our annual debt service on the bonds that we issued in prior years. I don't know if we're going to get a solution because, this is very partisan in Trenton, because the guys on the other side of the aisle, are very uptight about tax. But we have enough data to know that we're spending upwards of $600 a year individually for things that happen to our cars and our tires for riding roadways in New Jersey. I don't know where we will end up, but we have a crisis as it relates to funding to fix the transportation infrastructure. But we do have good news, as Senator Gill said, for East Orange. The state has dedicated $30 million to reconfigure exit 145 of the Parkway. Yes. And we know that has major implication for you, so that exit ramp, coming up into Orange, which flows into East Orange. All of that can be part of the discussion. I do know that the Department of Transportation issued a bid. I already know from talking to the Public Works Director in East Orange that we will have to do amendments to the bid that they put out. But we need to use this opportunity of the state doing 145 to throw in some things for ourselves at the Orange-East Orange border, and that certainly is an issue. I know from meetings we had several months back with Mayor Warren and the head of the Turnpike Parkway Authority, the other issue is state maintenance of the property that they own in our municipalities, and they own it in Orange and they own it in East Orange, and they need to get work crews out there on a regular basis to cut the weeds down, to pick up the trash, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing I want to speak to as it relates to Exit 145 is this issue of who gets to benefit from the expenditure of this money. I don't have to tell you that we've been fighting for years for local residents to get access to work opportunities and contracts as subcontractors. That is something that we are working on. Senator Gill, Assemblyman Gill, and myself met with Mayor Taylor. It is our intention to attend the next meeting of the commissioners of the New Jersey Turnpike to make it clear that we want to see local residents having the opportunity to benefit from this work that's going to be done. The other big issue for us in the next couple of weeks is going to be the pensions. I know it affects the employees here. It affects many people personally. But there is no appetite in the legislature from where I sit to see some reaction to the proposals that the governor has put out in the newspaper. He hasn't put them out to us formally, but he's talked about things like elevating the retirement age, cutting down the benefits for pension. We did one round of reforms with him in 2011 that were designed to get us stabilized. We're not there yet, and part of the reason we're not there yet is because this administration has not worked cohesively with the legislature to generate additional revenue for our state. I want to point out to you, because I know Orange is very supportive of its older adult population, you know that our seniors rely on the Essex County transportation system to get to medical appointments and shopping and other kinds of things. The way we're able to fund that program is from casino revenues. Casino revenues are in the bucket. So that is why you see seniors complaining they can't get a ride, they can't get an appointment, because we don't have enough people working and enough vehicles. So we are working on legislation for June to be able to find an alternative way to fund the special transportation system for the disabled and the aged. I also know that many of you have a lot of interest in prisoner reentry. You need to know that the Essex delegation did not support the legislation that subsequently got passed because we knew it wouldn't work. We knew it wouldn't work. Senator Gill has done a lot of work in this area, and she really led the fight to produce a better bill. But we have it's a bail reform bill, and it sounded like it was great because, oh, people will get some chances if they can't afford their bill. But there are some bitter pieces of that legislation. I'm told by some of the major supporters of Ban the Box that Ban the Box isn't working, because once the people get employed and then they do the background check, employers in some instances are now terminating those employees. So we have not solved that yet. And then the other thing you need to know, and I'm sure your police department, your public safety personnel knows, that we do not have enough judges in Essex County. And that's another political football that's been bandied back and forth, and it ties you up with your public safety, because as you try to adjudicate things through the municipal court and hand them up to the Superior Court, we have a severe backlog in Essex County. Now, the governor did, I think, Senator Gill, appoint 8 judges maybe a couple months back, but that is not enough. I'm not being the bearer of bad news, but I'm not optimistic that some of the things that are of our interest to us in Orange Township are going to get addressed in the next 19 or 20 months. I am anxiously awaiting till someone else is in the front of the building. Good night. Thank you.
And Assemblywoman Oliver, I just wanted to make sure that council members didn't have
Oh,
any
yes,
questions.
if you have
before
any
sit
questions.
down. No questions, no.
Well, no questions, just an overall comment or two. Thank you for addressing the Medicaid issue and the domestic violence issue. I will probably call your office so that you and I can have further discussions on those 2 topics, okay?
Okay, thank you. The other thing I want to let you know is, and this is for your seniors as well, there's a lot of scanning and conning going on with our constituencies. Green dot cards, people calling their homes. With technology today, people are calling our constituents representing, they're from the bank, they're from the mortgage company, they're from any place you could imagine. Our citizens are falling prey to this. They're receiving checks in the mail, they're being told to deposit the checks, etc. So I am working on an initiative with Assemblywoman Hanlon, who is the other side of the aisle, because it's affecting seniors everywhere. But we need to begin to elevate the consciousness of our citizens not to fall for scams, because people are losing a lot of money.
Thank you. Oh, just before you start, just
For the record, Ms. Cooper, the Mayor Chief of Staff, is present, 7:38 p.m.
thank you.
Thank you, Council President and members of the Orange Municipal Council. My name is Tom Giblin. I'm privileged to serve as the Assemblyman from the 34th Legislative District.
Assemblyman, I'm sorry, and also Councilman Harold Johnson arrived approximately about 7:30 p.m. I apologize.
I had heard he wanted to hear my presentation. To minimize any repeat presentation, first of all, as a matter of course, I always respond, I think, to any type of invitation from the government or community groups from the city of Orange. I think it's important as your elected representative to network with the various leadership in the neighborhoods and get a sense of what's needed to be addressed as far as making the community a better place to live. And feel free in the future to continue that type of invitation and dialogue. Some of the things that are going on, first of all, with our state budget, the budget this year is going to be about $33.8 billion. There's not going to be any increase because the governor has the final power of the pen. We know that there's certainly more need out there in our midst, but time and time again, because of our numbers both in the Senate and the Assembly, we are not able to override vetoes of the governor, especially dealing with issues of appropriations. We've tried to introduce and reintroduce the millionaire's tax that we feel would be helpful as far as funding the transportation trust fund and other programs of the state. And unfortunately, even in some early days, some of our counterparts in the opposition party voted along on a lot of pieces of legislation, but when the moment the truth comes as far as override is concerned, they kind of lose their nerve, so to speak, as far as staying with what's right as far as the state of New Jersey. The pension problem is very complex. What you're dealing with is a aging population in the state. People are living longer. The pension plan has to utilize different mortality tables. People that retire today that could be 65 years of age, formerly were using a mortality table of 82. In recent years, people have been forced to use a mortality table of 86. So that by itself equals 4 years of additional payouts for potential retirees. The other issue that some folks don't really think about and I don't say this negatively, but I know there's been a lot of talk about teachers with, that they've been singled out as far as a group is concerned by this administration. The reality, a lot of times when there's been cutbacks as far as education is concerned, I call it the little people have been hurt the most. And I'm talking about cafeteria people, I'm talking about bus drivers, I'm talking about custodians. When you privatize these people, this results in loss of participants in the teachers or public employees retirement system, and many of these people, as we exist, do not have pensions, have minimal health benefits, and our hourly wages are just slightly above the minimum wage. So all of this throughout the state, when you privatize turnpike workers, and when you privatize the people who work for the lottery that were in the former CWA people, all of this collectively has an impact, because if you have a plan it's premised on people retiring, and then it's premised on new people coming in. So when you're cutting off new people coming in to a significant level, it's going to, the best person in the world is not going to make a pension plan go. And there's real challenges as far as the future is concerned about trying to deal with this issue as far as our plan is concerned. But there was an agreement made several years ago, and the administration decided not to follow that agreement, and that's the result of the court action. Another area that's extremely important for Orange and Essex County is this whole delivery of health care. There was a recent report issued by the Department of Health called the Navigant Report. Basically, the Navigant Report is looking at Essex County as a whole, looking at hospital facilities, looking at population, looking at the number of beds in the different hospitals, and are recommending changes. Specifically would have a major impact as far as East Orange General is concerned, and St. Michael's Medical Center in Newark. What they're trying to propose is that we switch from an acute care hospital to an ambulatory care hospital. That would mean no overnight stays for patients. We've seen what happened to Orange over the last number of years. I mean, you had different facilities here, St. Mary's Hospital, the Hospital Center at Orange. You go into other communities, Montclair Community, St. Vincent's Hospital in that area, and you can go out Essex County, Irvington General, places like that. I'm personally opposed to the implementation of this Navigant Report. A similar report was put out in Hudson County several years ago. About 1 iota of that report was followed by any of the hospitals impacted. And before we make a decision like this, one, I'm concerned about quality of health care, that folks have that, but then I'm looking at the greater issue about loss of jobs. St. Michael's Hospital, for example, has about 1,500 people working there. 700 of them live in Essex County. The vast majority of those people are women and folks of color, and they lose their jobs. They're going no place in a hurry. We saw what happened with the Hospital Center at Orange. All this thing about things are going to be better or things are going to happen. People are outside looking in. As far as other issues, I worked with the administration during the year. On one occasion, we had the then Commissioner of Community Affairs, Richard Constable, in a meeting with the proposed developer of the, I guess it's the Harvard Press property up on Central Avenue, to sit down with the mayor in terms of trying to assist them as far as trying to implement that project. One, it's ratables. Two, it's bringing some attractive housing to Orange, and then also creating job opportunities. The other issue too is, as was mentioned, about the Highland Avenue station. We've had active meetings with Ronnie Hakem, who's the executive director of NJ Transit, about better use of that facilities, about trying to even put some concessionaires there and trying to make it more attractive, and then also the practical issue about trying to get more stops within the city, that people are basically bypassing the Orange station and moving on to South Orange is extremely important. One of my responsibilities in the legislature is I'm vice chair of the Higher Education Committee. What we do with our educational system, whether it be Essex County College or some of our institutions, both public and private, as far as higher education, is extremely important. It's a big ticket item. If you have responsibility to send a kid to college, about trying to provide for that, and unfortunately the costs are going up. There was a number of bills that were passed by the Assembly in 2015, about 2014, about trying to look at costs, trying to make credits seamless, transferring them over from the county colleges, to the 4-year program. Also, trying to rein in about the percentage increase as far as tuition is concerned. So it's an issue that is very much on our mind as far as the 34th Legislative District is concerned. One of the concerns I have, and it was touched on, about prison reentry. The reality is I spent my life's work in the labor movement. It's a joke. People are not getting second chances. Everybody gets up and makes a nice speech, talks about it. Person's in a precarious position. They tell the truth. They don't get the job. If they try to fudge it or hide it, and it's discovered 2 or 3 months later, they lose their job. That's the reality. And then even people are playing games. I don't want to sound sinister, but with the Affordable Care Act, about how much time they're on the payroll, and they hire people, and then they'll push them out the door, and then they get a new batch in, and it's a way of circumventing an employer's responsibility, what should be right as far as the folks are concerned. You've seen, some of the issues about fair housing. The courts recently ruled against the administration about the allocation of the dollars. We all know what's right. We all know what's fair. But you're dealing with a difficult mindset in the administration's office. A lot of practical things that should be done to improve the lives of citizens. I don't see it taking place anything too soon. Our leader of the state has national ambitions. It's the state, in a lot of ways, is on automatic pilot. There are just so many issues that are not being dealt with as far as our state is concerned. The Transportation Trust Fund, the whole issue of the pensions, about trying to help our cities, things of that nature. People don't have the same freedom as commissioners as the way they did in previous administrations. Everything's pretty much centrally controlled about them making a move or decision or even talking to people. I had an incident with a commissioner who had asked me to fill out a 2-page form about why I wanted to talk to her, which I never went through anything like that in any administration. So that kind of stresses the point about the tightness of that is concerned. I think that we have to continue to work together over the next several years. Orange is a good community. A lot of things that you're doing in terms of trying to help people, in terms of trying to make it a better place to work, live, and reside, I think is essential. And whatever I can do in my role as the assemblyman from this district, my door is always open, and I'm always willing to meet with you and try to come up with solutions and move the community forward.
Assemblyman Giblet, you did in one of your babies, I know that you send out to all the council members the senior tax freeze. Is there anything that new or anything with the senior tax freeze?
It just seems with the mindset of this budget, they're going to try to, they keep pushing these things back. Okay. If you follow the history during the Christie administration, rebates that were due for 12 are getting, they're into 14, and then the 13 one is pushed back that much more. It boils down to the budget. He's resistant to trying to do anything about increasing revenues. One thing I think is possible with this whole issue of the Transportation Trust Fund, I call it kind of a trade-off. Early on, when Jamie Foxx was appointed the Commissioner of Transportation, I kind of interpret that as kind of a good signal that I think that he was there to try to help move this issue about the Transportation Trust Fund forward. There's a whole concern about people, especially from the New Jersey Business Industry Association and also the CPI Society, about this whole matter of death taxes and inheritance taxes, because they say that New Jersey penalizes higher income folks and people with more assets as compared to Florida. You hear a lot of people talking about moving to Florida where they get the 181 days and they're treated as a Florida resident, and they're eligible for some of these tax deferments. That is an issue that's being discussed, but frankly I don't see that being handled until after lame duck, until after the legislative elections in November. But I think that's a possible trade-off, because anybody in their right mind, when you travel around New Jersey, between the damage that's done to people's cars, the potholes, the state of the bridges, I mean, this is a matter of an emergency situation, and if it takes that to get that type of movement in terms of helping people who have more resources, as Councilman Corbett, the people in Short Hills and in North Cornwall that want something like that and to keep them in New Jersey, so be it. But that's not going to be dealt with anything too quickly.
Okay. Council members, any questions for Assemblyman Giblin?
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Before they leave, I do want to suspend the rules because I don't want them to stay here, and I don't want the constituents to leave and not have a moment to address anything that the representatives have said. So we can have a motion to suspend the rules. Just let the motion from Councilwoman Gordon Butler, second from Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And if there's a member from the public that would like to address what the legislators have said, can you say it? And you have 2 minutes, and then we'll let everybody say it, and then I'll let them respond after everybody says it. Is there any member from the public that would like to address the legislators? Mr. Mapp, you actually, Mr. Mapp, when we were at the legislative meeting regarding the tax, you had discussed, that was regarding the infrastructure about the ports. You might want to put that on the record, because that was that you had stated. I mean, you thought about it for Philadelphia, but we talked about it should be for Newark and Philadelphia regarding the tax and how it applies to the roads.
Okay, thank you, Council President. I am Adrian Mapp, the Director of Finance. What the Council President is referring to is that at one of the legislative sessions at the League of Municipalities that was at the State House, I did make a suggestion that one of the things that the legislature needs to look at, given the amount of traffic that we have on our roadways from the trucks that take cargo into and out of our ports, that the legislature look at imposing a fee, a tax, whatever you want to call it, on every container load that is picked up and dropped off from the ports in the state of New Jersey. In addition to making that suggestion while I was down in Trenton, I also submitted a letter to the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Transportation, Mr. Jamie Foxx, recommending that idea be given very serious consideration. Because as we look at all of our roads across the state of New Jersey, we know that a lot of the damage that we see is as a direct result of the pounding that our roads take from these heavy trucks that come into and out of our state and into and out of our ports. So that is one of the things that I will strongly urge our legislators to take a look at and to support, because I believe that it would make a significant difference in terms of revenues going into the Transportation Trust Fund, which, as we know, is broke, as well as the gas tax. I think that we can't avoid that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we close, is there any?
That issue has been.
You got to come to the mic. I'm sorry.
That issue has been discussed before. Former Assemblyman Albert Coutinho had introduced legislation like that, calling for a $3 tax per container, to try to help. In that case, it was really for the city of Newark, but at a subsequent meeting, there's a lot of development in South Jersey right now at Paulsboro in terms of development report, and then there's also some activity over in Camden. I mentioned to Mayor Baraka that it would make sense to try to put representatives from both locations, because as we all know, trying to move a piece of legislation through the Assembly or the Senate, everybody, what does this mean to my community or my county or my district? And if you're married up, so to speak, in terms of people from that region, I think it would be more practical about trying to get something like that enacted. But it is something that's been discussed, because there's a tremendous amount of containers both at Newark and Camden and Paulsboro, among other ports in the state.
Ms. Stewart?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Gloria Stewart, a resident of Orange.
Yes.
I am really excited about our legislators being here, representatives. I've been in that company, I think, just last week.
Mm-hmm.
They are considered as friends of educators.
Mm-hmm.
When we need their help, they're there for us. But I guess right now I know that NJEA is fighting for the restoration of the pension through our president. And I know you touched on it, and I'd like to hear from you, if you will, the position and where we are with that. It doesn't sound too good. And also the park testing. I'm in the school district in Orange, and just this week and last week, I think it was, the students are being tested. The teacher evaluation is really tied to that. And I'm hearing now that parents will not have an opportunity. Well, they can opt out, but it's going to impact on the funding. I think Ms. Oliver might have said that. And is it anything to prevent that from happening? Because you're penalizing the parents. If I don't want my child to take it, you shouldn't, come at me in the back door. And I think that's what was happening. Also, with the road condition, I know in Orange, I'm about ready to build Orange for my car, riding on the road. But I must say that, you've done a little work on Main Street. And then I just want to go, I know you're saying something about the funding for the traffic. Some of that I might not understand, but I do know that the people who also dig up the road should be held accountable, and I don't think they are. All they do, they want to build, they dig up the road, and they're off in the sunset, but they need to be held accountable. And so, if you will, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Gill?
Yes, I can answer Park. With respect to Park, there are two pots of money. The federal government, and the federal government says 95% must take the test, or the federal government has a procedure whereby they say they will seek to reduce Title I funding. That's a pot. They have never done it, and it's a whole procedure. Then there's the pot of money that we send directly to Trenton. And the commissioner said, with respect to that pot of money, that he will decide which communities he will take money from, depending on what criteria he sets as it relates to the number of opt-out. And he maintains he has the authority, statutory authority, to do it. I have a bill that says the Commissioner of Education cannot reduce funding, school funding, related to opt-out. One, it violates the Constitution of a thorough and efficient education, because then he will be substantially altering the funding formula. Two, because it will penalize an entire community and take your property tax money that you send to Trenton, and 80% of the school funding with respect to the state stream is our money. And he will unilaterally decide. Well, I have a bill that says specifically the commissioner cannot reduce school funding based upon opt-out. That is a factor they are using as an intimidation for parents who want to have opt-out and have used opt-out before. So that bill hopefully will soon be heard in the Education Committee. But this is a real fight for our money. And it's a fight that our tax money that we send to Trenton, it's bad enough they don't fully fund us now. So then they will, based upon some discretionary bureaucratic function, attempt to take more money from our communities for exercising our right of choice as it relates to our children. So I'm in the battle for that one, and with respect to that issue of park.
Caitlin Gordon.
Good evening. I'm taking the opportunity to mention one issue for our legislature. It is going a little bit further, but still it is an issue of ours. Orange is in the Rahway River watershed. There is a project going on currently, already started after much argumentation about it, about the Rahway Arch. I am not sure whether you are familiar with the issue. It is an issue where contaminated material is imported into New Jersey from another state, and for payment accepted, and piled up on a little islet on the Rahway River. The plan is to cap it and leave it alone. A lot of us are environmentally concerned, and this does not seem to us to be a right way. We want to get rid of we have plenty of contaminated material ourselves. We don't want to import it, and we don't want our rivers being dirtied up, and it will go down into the Hudson and cause general problems. If you could, I don't know if you are familiar with it. If not, please look into it for us. Thank you.
Yes, my name is William Hathaway. I'm a resident of the city of Orange. I reside at 232 Lincoln Avenue. Also, I'm a Democratic district leader in the city. I'd like to pose a question to our legislators. We talked about the trust fund in the state of New Jersey. As of this couple of weeks, our governor, along with New Jersey Transit, has proposed a 9.9% fare increase to our commuters in New Jersey. What is your feelings about that, and what could we do possibly to rally residents who strive to take that work minimum wage salaries, try to get to work and everything? What is your feelings on that?
Assemblywoman Oliver.
Yeah, I have strong feelings about that. I'm sure that Assemblyman Giblin and Senator Gill share my concern about that issue, Mr. Hathaway. 3 years ago, a 30% hike in public transportation was assessed for people that use our New Jersey Transit system. It was phased in over a 3-year period. The tolls were raised on the bridges and the tunnels. This hit not only individual commuters, but our small business owners who go in and out of the tunnels and over the bridges during the course of the day to deliver products and, to engage in commerce are negatively affected. I think it is atrocious that transit is looking at a 9% hike. I also am very concerned about the board preparing to vote to award a multi-million-dollar contract to basically study some capital improvement projects that Port Authority wants to engage in. And I think they put out a number of a $40 million contract just to kind of conduct the feasibility. That is borne by the people that ride our buses and trains every day. I think it is unconscionable. I believe that who has to be held accountable are the people that sit on these boards of what I call quasi-government, because it is the commissioners of the Port Authority, the commissioners of the Turnpike Authority that also oversees the Garden State Parkway. But I think that we have to hold the people on those commissions accountable for the votes that they're going to pass, to cast. But it is unconscionable because we just had significant hikes. Talk to anyone standing on one of the bus stops here. It's costing a lot of money for working people to get back and forth to where they have to go. So it is abominable, but it's going to take a momentum and a movement from a grassroots level, because the commissioners will react and vote yes unless there is an outcry from the citizenry. So that perhaps should be an issue that's brought to some of the statewide organizations, be it the League of Municipalities, the New Jersey Conference of Mayors, but it is unconscionable and shame on them.
Any other person from the public? Now we're going to close citizens' comments. A motion to close?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Gore Butler.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summer Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before the legislators depart, is there any other parting words from our council members?
Just one, Council President.
I'm going to let you, no, we're going to let Councilwoman Gore Butler. Go ahead, Councilman Corbett.
To the Assembly Speaker, I just wanted to thank you for recognizing, as I have in several council meetings, the fact that Scotland Road is in bad shape. I had a conversation with our liaison from the county, and he indicated to me that there are no plans from the county to resurface that road in the immediate future, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gore Butler.
Yes, Council President, I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity while we have our state legislators here, and I would like to make a special presentation. Is that possible?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. I would like Assemblyman Giblin to join me here, and Ms. Stewart. Ms. Stewart. Food for thought. Okay, so in the essence of time, I'll just summarize this, but Assemblyman Giblin passed an assembly resolution in honor of Ms. Stewart. I will read the last whereas. It says, whereas within all spheres of her life and work, Gloria Stewart has established a model to emulate and set a standard of excellence towards which others might strive. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the General Assembly of the State of New Jersey that the House hereby honors and congratulates Gloria Stewart, joins in commending her meritorious record of service and commitment as exemplified by the Community Leadership Award, and extends best wishes for continued success in all of her future endeavors. And be it further resolved that a duly authenticated copy of this resolution has been signed by the Speaker, attested by the Clerk, and transmitted to Gloria Stewart. Congratulations. perfect timing. Thank you.
Perfect.
And,
She has been
and,
in action, so I'm glad she's here.
and Councilwoman Butler, by the look of Ms. Stewart's face, great job on getting you got it. She was very surprised.
Council President.
I think Councilman Johnson.
Council President, thank you. To our legislators, I just want to thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing firsthand, and for being a new council person. I thank each one of you for being so approachable and kind and gracious of me getting involved in politics and sharing a smile and a good firm handshake. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Councilman Coley.
Yes, Council President. I want to thank all our legislators for coming. And I just want to thank and wish all the mothers in the house a happy Mother's Day this weekend.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mothers-to-be.
Thank you. And before I speak, I just want some brief words from the administration on behalf of the Chief of Staff, Ms. Cooper. Who's a mother?
Good evening, council members. Tashami Cooper, Chief of Staff for Mayor Warren. I want to thank Senator Gill, Assemblywoman Oliver, and Assemblyman Giblin for coming out and sharing a status update on the issues that's near and dear to our residents. Oftentimes, we often get complaints about the park. A lot of them don't know, and they're, kind of scared about how to advise their children, because they don't want to harm the district from getting the dollars. But they also know, and some of us can remember, that we were kind of scared and temperamental when it comes to taking exams as well. So we share and appreciate your candor and your updates about what you are fighting for at the state level, because we should not be penalized if the parents want to ask their child to sit this one out. We also appreciate your comments about the roads. We get a voluminous amount of phone calls, and we do appreciate the recent funding that we got through DOT to upgrade some of the roads. We're looking forward to working with you in any way that we can to restore the funding to the Transportation Trust Fund, because we know that we severely need it. The mayor and Marty Mays is also looking forward to working on the Highland Avenue train station. We've had some very aggressive discussions with Transportation, New Jersey Transit, about reopening that train station, an opportunity for a small business person to potentially come there and just provide coffee, donuts, a bagel, things of that nature for the commuters that go back and forth. So we appreciate that. Also, the mayor has been working very aggressively with each of our legislators to move a lot of issues forward, and Mayor Warren looks forward to continue working with you to advance any of these issues any way that he can. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman Eason.
I too would like to add to thanking our legislators for coming tonight. And I'm glad that Ms. Cooper is here so she can take a message to our mayor how critical it is for us to get Channel 35 back up and running.
Indeed.
Because the information that you shared tonight would benefit our residents 100%, because they don't get to see you guys or hear what you're working on. And the only time I read the newspaper every day, so I know a lot of that stuff. I guess addicted to the newspaper, but so I think that is one of the messages that we need to send our mayor, and hopefully Ms. Cooper and our Director Mays will take it back to him that when we bring you guys in, we need to be on Channel 35 so that the residents get to know you, they can gain benefit from the education, and I know they would have welcomed the comments about Park, since everybody's up in arms about that this day. So, but I want to thank you for coming also.
Thank you. And Councilwoman, what you did, and although they do have the ability to go on YouTube, it's not the broad visibility that our constituents are used to, or the real time when 35 was up. But this will be on YouTube, so it will be at their leisure. But everybody, and as you know, the broadband access in urban communities is a challenge that we have. So
just one other comment.
Yes, Councilman.
I say that to say because our seniors don't.
Right, that's what I
YouTube.
said. Yeah,
you know, it's
that's what I
very
said.
limited. And I just took down my Facebook because Assemblyman Oliver. I was hacked 2 times in 2 weeks. I mean, I was in North Carolina and I got a call and they said, "I've been talking to you all night." I said, "I haven't been on Facebook in weeks." Well, you offered me the opportunity to make $100,000. So that night, I took down my Facebook page. So I'm no longer involved in social media. So,
Gee, I lost a friend.
And I do, that's why I said the limited, because it won't be loaded until next week, so it's not real time what our constituents have been used to. And just in closing, and you can respond, the infrastructure bills that have come down from the federal government and have not been, this administration from the government has not embraced those, but infrastructure is very important. I once heard a congressman say we shouldn't call it the infrastructure, we should call it our highways, bridges, and that bill. And it's very important as we travel over the highways that we continually look at, especially after a hard winter like this. Every street you turn down is very hard. And one of the things that Ms. Stewart is public service and your Comcast and how they come back, and all communities have to embrace legislation that says they have to repair the roads equal or better than when they left it. New Jersey Transit, I am a commuter. I work in the city during the day. And just to tell you that commuter from Brick Church, that when that increase went in, my monthly pass went from $135 to $169 in a while. And so with this 9%, and on top of that, the increase that you get on the other side of the bridge through the MTA is very, very impactful. And when nobody's salary is going up the rate of the increasing, so it is something that we all should get involved in. The public hearing is on May 20th at 5:30 regarding the increase at One Penn Plaza East at the New Jersey headquarters in the boardroom. And we will continue to put that out, but it is something that we need to talk to. And I know for the legislators, when you're talking with New Jersey Transit and administration, it's important that we have some more flexibility with local rule over to what, instead of having meeting after meeting as to what we can do at our train stations, to what I think our ridership last count was probably over 3,000 a day. And when people get on the platforms and can't get a paper, a cup of coffee or anything, or the platforms look terrible, but yet they're constantly raising the prices, it's a very, very horrible thing, and it could impact jobs, on the ground. And finally, and this is a thought, the Faulkner Act. At a legislative meeting, I think it would be helpful if the legislators had a meeting with the local elected officials or for any forms of government, but specifically for us, the Faulkner Act. I don't believe there have been any amendments to the Faulkner Act since it has been the legislation was passed, but just to have a roundtable discussion as to any improvements or what people, whether it be the administrators or the legislators, think the improvements can be regarding the Faulkner Act, that would be helpful. So, and with that being said, thank you for coming. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we're going to move the agenda.
Council President, with regards to matters for discussion, I've asked twice for Director Sims to be on the agenda for matters for discussion, but he keeps missing it. So next council meeting, could
Do you want to do it?
No, not today.
No, I'm saying, do you want to do it next meeting or the first one in June?
No, next council meeting in
Okay.
May.
Because the next one is the budget. It's just one. Okay.
Got to get this in.
So it'll be on the next council meeting.
Yes.
Council President, I'm gonna recommend it be the one after that, because one of the recommenders I was gonna have tonight, we need to have one night with no matters for discussion so we can get out of here in a decent time.
He won't be long.
No, but I'm saying move it to another night. I mean,
We've gotten out of here at 10 o'clock, but okay. I mean, I don't think.
It's 9:30. It's what? Almost. It's 8:30.
So you want? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know that the budget is going to impact the matters of discussion because it's actually before the council meeting. But
Well, I'm
we'll
just
put it
saying
on.
we need to stop putting so much on one night.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to spend all my nights here.
Are there any resolutions and ordinances that the council members need to discuss at this time? I will say for the record, resolution, Councilman Coley, which one will be removed? I'm sorry.
That will be
What ordinance will be removed?
ordinance 29, 30, and 31.
So 29, 30, and 31 will be removed.
Council President,
Withdrawn.
I had a question
Yes,
on
sir.
one. Resolution, I'm sorry, ordinance 27-2015.
Yes, sir.
As it relates to abandoned properties, is indicated here somewhere in the body that it wanted to be, you want to bring this closer to the state statutes. I'm not sure how the state statute reads as it relates to this.
And it's not attached.
No.
Councilman Coley or Councilman Johnson, do you want to respond to?
Can we defer that to Legislative Research Officer?
And Council President, after he finishes, I think Attorney White has some more comments that we need
Regarding
to-
27?
Yes.
Okay. Attorney Harris?
Good evening, members of council. Kevin Harris, Legislative Research Officer. Bringing it more in compliance with state statute is the reason why the ordinance was introduced, essentially moving it and keeping it in line under the vacant property. There were two acts that were passed, most recently the last one being in 2014 by the state legislature, which allowed essentially for the creation and the modification of these abandoned property lists. As Orange already has a vacant property vacant property article under the code of the city, it was thought and believed best that the conditions of the abandoned property be merged with the article dealing with vacant properties.
Still doesn't tell me very much on how the state.
Councilman, I'll get you a copy of the state
that would help.
statute. That would be good. I will do that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, so what are we changing? That's what I don't understand, because I
Council,
have.
let me ask you this, Councilwoman Easton. Does everybody have this memo with interpretive statements on there?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I had it, but it's not with me tonight. It's home. That I have at home.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Because
Sorry,
you
Councilwoman.
There's two on here, right? 27 and 28. So 27 you're canceling out.
27 is repealing that article, Councilman.
So-
But the terms of that article are being moved into Article 18 is being canceled, but the terms that were contained in Article 18 have been merged into Article 21.
I just need to know what you're changing, because I understand just from, that it's going to seriously impact the North Ward. So
Well,
give us a synopsis of what you're changing, so that's going to make it better.
essentially what it does is it calls for the public officer to create abandoned property lists that presently doesn't exist under your existing statute. Properties can be determined and criteria set to determine if properties are in fact abandoned in the city of Orange, and they would be put on a list, and it does create discretion for the public officer to take steps to either remediate conditions on those properties or perhaps go after the former property owners, or even to allow the municipality to seize ownership of those properties.
Let me ask, so Director Mays, what have you been giving us? Wasn't that a abandoned properties list?
Right. That what you had, what you actually saw over the last couple of meetings, when the planning department either added or deleted a property. I believe 2 or 3 meetings ago there was a request to include that list on every resolution. That list has been included over the last 3 resolutions that went for it. So there is currently a vacant and abandoned property list. That list gets updated every time there's a change. So I'm not really sure. Who put the notion out there that there is not a current list. There is a current list, and we use that list on a daily basis.
Council President.
Okay. What?
Yeah,
Councilwoman Easton.
I'd like Attorney White to go over what his his, because I had a question this afternoon.
Well, Councilwoman, just since the author is Councilman Coley,
No, I want the attorney, and then he can respond.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from the attorney first, since I have the floor.
Okay, I just wanted you to understand
I
where his goal
understand, but
was.
He can tell me
Okay.
after the attorney does tells what his concerns were.
Mr. White?
Avram White, Assistant City Attorney. In terms of ordinance number 27, which was repealing the language,
We can't hear you. You got to speak into the
which
mic.
was repealing the language, I don't think the law department had an issue with that because the state statute already provided remedies that were in the in ordinance 27, and now the fact that ordinance 28 appears to be substituting the language into a different place, it seems like the status quo. There's no change in the status quo. It seems like there's no change in you're just moving language from one chapter to another.
In addition to adding additional language that wasn't previously contained.
But there was an abandoned property list. I don't know if you want to talk offline, but it appeared.
Okay, not designated by statute though. It was requested of me to create legislation that would allow that would call for the abandoned property list, and essentially what it does is it's twofold. It establishes it focuses on the already established criteria for determining if a property is abandoned, but then it takes it a step further. It allows for procedures by which the municipality can undertake to, as I said, perhaps get title to those properties, which, like I said, were not contained in the previous code. Perhaps the public officer was acting in that capacity, but there was no legislation that supported it.
Council President? I'll defer to Councilman Cole if he wants to speak. But
Councilman Coley?
Yes, what this does, right now, we have just an abandoned property list. That's all we have. It's just like you keep on piling your dirty clothes on, in the closet. But what is happening to that pile of dirty clothes? Nothing. What this legislation does, it forces the administration to continually give us updates, and status reports on those properties that's on our property problem, on that abandoned property list.
So
rather than just having a list and say we have a list, but what are we doing with that list?
So it has a list and creates action for them
Exactly.
to respond to.
And Council President, it also gives the municipality muscle, because I know there's properties that people are paying taxes but aren't maintaining the properties. Then they'll never be on the list, but yet and still they're becoming deplorable and dilapidated. And this new ordinance now gives the administrations a different avenue for putting them on the list and monitoring the upkeep of that property, although they are vacant or missing owners that normally if they pay their water bill and their tax bill and don't upkeep the property, they'll never be on the abandoned list.
If they pay their bills but then don't maintain, they'll never make
They'll
the
never
list.
be on the abandoned.
Got you. So this gives more bite to the, okay.
Council President,
Councilman
I have one other
Eason?
question. So Director Mays, based on this, and there has to be a section where this is enforced. So how would, let me just use my ward. I do have quite a few houses. So if they don't register that house as an abandoned property, does anybody go out and inspect a property that they see that's vacant to make sure it has been registered?
Director Mays?
Yes, we do. One of the things, this is a very complicated issue, but one of the things that I would like, this is the first time that I'm seeing this. Nobody sat down with me and went through it. I would hope that at least I would have that opportunity before we make any changes. I'm not opposed to making any changes. I just want to be sure that we're making significant changes that would really help. I would ask that I have the opportunity to sit down with the authors of this ordinance and be clear that they understand what's currently on the books and what we're doing now as a department.
So what you're asking, which would have been my recommendation, because I was going to ask too, had they talked to you or had you reviewed it. So I'm asking from our Councilman Johnson and Coley, if they have a problem with us not dealing with it tonight and having sitting down with Mr. Mays and just go through it and make sure it says what we mean and it means what it says, because we put so much on the books that is never enforced, and we need to make sure that it's not subjective, but the writing is really factual and we can really act on it with some component behind it that says we have to enforce whatever that we approve here tonight. So do you guys have a problem with that?
I do.
I do too, because this is just common sense. I mean, it's common sense. Again, like I said, Councilwoman Easton, through the president, that we have an abandoned.
One second,
Public Works.
One second, let me
A
just finish.
director of planning.
Councilwoman Easton, let him finish.
Weigh in on this.
I allowed you to speak. Again, like I said, we have an abandoned property list. Again, like I said, but what are we doing with that abandoned property list as far as making the owners of those properties accountable for cleaning the properties up and maintaining those properties? Absolutely nothing.
Council President?
One second, Councilman Johnson have something. Councilman Johnson.
No, Council President. I think Legislative Research Officer Attorney Harris did a fantastic job in his research, and it actually clearly gives the municipality more muscle to do what they have to do to keep blight from happening in our communities. As simple as that. Nobody's doing any trickery. It's the law. I mean.
Council President.
Council President.
This is okay, one second. Everybody go. Councilwoman Easton, Councilman Summers Johnson, and then Ms. Cooper will respond.
I just talked to our Legislative Research Officer. One of the things he did recommend, which was not adhered to, that this legislation be run by our Director of Public Works and Planning. I don't know how we can effectively impact the department that he manages without him having some input as to what we're putting on the books. Because whatever we put on the books, he's the one that has to manage it, oversee it, and make sure it's adhered to. So I don't know how anybody could, and I'm not saying that you didn't do a bang up job and do what you, but we need to make sure that the person that is going to impact has some say and reading before we as a council put anything on the books that conflicts with what planning and public works is doing already. That's all I'm saying. Not saying that it shouldn't pass, not saying that it's not good. I'm saying we need to follow through the processes and make sure that our department heads can weigh in on any legislation. And that's what has happened in the past.
Okay.
We always send it to the department head, let them review it, so they can, because they know a little bit more sometimes than we do, and a little bit more sometimes than the attorney do, because he does not touch it day to day. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, and Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
I was just going to say that I just think that Marty Mays should have an opportunity to speak with them. I don't think that it'll hurt us. I just think that we don't want to leave any department heads out of, I mean, I'm just thinking as a, I would want to be in a discussion. I wouldn't want anyone to make a decision for me, and I don't think it'll hurt us. I think it'll show the unity that we are trying to do. And again, not to say it's wrong, but I just think that we should always include the department heads.
Ms. Cooper.
Tashami Cooper, Chief of Staff for Mayor Warren. We currently maintain a list for vacant and abandoned properties. Mm-hmm. Councilman Coley and Councilman Johnson are right in some respects. Mm-hmm. We do need to strengthen the program, but we need to do it in concert with the department. It's interesting that this piece of legislation was introduced because Mayor Warren has been having discussions with the planning department about how to strengthen the program based upon research of surrounding municipalities. Right now, the way our current program works, you get on a list, and once you're on that list, you have to pay an annual maintenance fee for being on that list, and you get penalized if you don't maintain your property. how those properties get on that list is Marty's staff go out and literally canvass the area, or we get complaints from residents or complaints from council members to let us know that there is a vacant and abandoned property that need to be addressed. Do we need to strengthen the program? Absolutely we do. Based upon the legislation that was passed a couple years ago, it does give us stronger teeth so that we could, as Councilman Coley suggested, appoint a receiver of some sort to maintain that property and to turn it around to get it back into positive production. And unfortunately, Councilman Johnson, most of the properties that's on that list, they don't always maintain their municipal responsibilities. Sometimes they're delinquent with paying water and sewer. They're not always up to date. Most of these people also don't live within the township. So you're absolutely right. The program does need to be overhauled. Mayor Warren adamantly agrees with you. We've done research of the surrounding towns, and we found that the way that we were running our program was a bit behind. And looking at Irvington, looking at Newark, looking at East Orange, we do need to step our game up and become a bit more aggressive with how we handle vacant and abandoned properties. I just ask that we give Marty an opportunity to share his research with you so that we can make sure that we introduce a strong, competent program that truly starts to move the list of vacant and abandoned properties that we have, because it's a couple hundred, and some of them have been vacant and abandoned for a very long time. Thank you.
Council President, to Ms. Cooper.
Yes.
Is the mayor also putting a task force together around abandoned properties?
He actually has a task force now that consists of fire, police, public works, and health. And whenever we get complaints, they go out on a monthly basis to tag the various properties. Public works, right now, unfortunately, sometimes have to maintain those properties by cutting the grass or boarding them up. And when we do that, we put a lien on the property. Some property owners are very responsive and they come in, some don't. But a lot of these properties we do recognize are nuisance properties for fire and police. So we do tag them. We do keep a watchful eye as best we can. Do we want to address them? Absolutely. But we recognize that we need to overhaul that program. And that's why Marty Mays and his staff has started doing the work for the last couple months to figure out what was the best approach to take, because the goal is to make them become positive properties again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President.
Councilman Summer Johnson? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just dealt with this yesterday. I had a resident complain about an abandoned house next to him. What I did was I called Marty to see if I can get a quick number to Marty Mays, I'm sorry, code enforcement. I called code enforcement. They said that they had ticketed the property and they were going to get back with me with the date to see if they lapsed in it. So, I mean, that's how I've been handling it as the residents call. Because I know we were looking at one on, what is it, Haywood and Haxton. I'm not, Tremont and Haxton. You know what I mean? So I thought that's how it was going. But again, I'm just wanting everyone to weigh in on it.
Okay. Councilman Johnson?
Thank you, Council President. And thanks the Chief of Staff for making his statements. If this ordinance introduction tonight actually materializes a meeting with Director Mays and Councilman Coley and myself, that's fine. We don't have to move on the first read on this tonight. That's fine. Once again, what we're attempting to do is to give the municipality more muscle to in fact do their thing citywide. We're not talking about individual homes that we may be concerned of. We're looking at the bigger picture. So if we need to sit down and discuss, let's have this discussion next week, because I'm out of town the rest of this week, so I can't do it.
You guys, Councilman Coley, are you willing to, when we do a break, to schedule a meeting and do a round table and then bring this back at the next meeting?
Yeah, I have a trip to the moon next week.
Okay.
And I'll be
So when you get
back.
back, so we're gonna withdraw 27, 28 as well. Okay. Council member, are there any other matters that we would like to discuss?
Yes, Council President. I have one other resolution. 134-2015. This is a resolution to go into a contract with the East Orange Water Commission for an emergency basis.
Right.
Have we ever done anything like this before, utilizing the East Orange Water Commission for services?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Chris Mobley to come to the mic and answer that question.
You said it so loud. Like, answer what we heard you. She thinks she whispering. That's a whisper voice.
Good evening, Chris Mobley, Water
And
Liaison.
also, and tell a need, too.
In fact, we have, years ago, we did have an interconnection, emergency interconnection with the city of East Orange when we had the old pump station running. When the
A
new
long time ago.
Pardon me?
Long time ago.
A
few years back.
Yeah, it was several years back. When the new pump station was built, it was built with some apparatus to reconnect it. Not all of it was done, but some of it was done. Recently, we received a letter from the Department of Environmental Protection in New Jersey, and they expressed some concern that we did not have enough redundancy in our water system to provide water to the residents and businesses in the event that there was a catastrophic failure of our main pipes coming from the well field. And so they've asked us to make the emergency connection again in the event that we need to have that.
So I guess you already answered the need. Did he answer the need, Councilman?
And the need?
Yeah, I thought he did too.
Was that sufficient for you, Councilwoman Easton? Yes, super.
Are there any alternatives? And I'll tell you why I asked that. Not too long ago, the East Orange Water Commission had major issues. And I don't know how far removed they are from those issues. And so quite naturally, the red flag is up for me. And I'm concerned about it. So are there any other alternatives besides the East Orange Water Commission?
We have a interconnection with New Jersey American Water. However, we would need to have both of those interconnections ready and available to us. So, no. However, let me address your other concern. Your other concern with regard to East Orange was many, many years ago. The people who were responsible for that are no longer there. And as you know, the East Orange, like Orange, is under the watchful eye of DEP. When I say under the watchful eye, you know, all of the things that are done have to be done to the specifications of the regulations because it's a regulatory body of New Jersey DEP.
Council President.
Well, you've certainly given me enough to think about until it's time to vote on this.
Okay.
Councilwoman Easton, Director Mays?
Yes, I just want to add one specific point to that, is that the new pump station that was built contains apparatus that was built and designed to facilitate this happening. So, in other words, there's various equipment that's in the new pump station that was designed to make this happen. So this is just a continuation of that, and I think it's important that a lot of that stuff that's already in place is a lot of money. So it's like almost like, in my opinion, a no-brainer to continue to do that, in my opinion.
So this $25,000 lump fee is only going to be paid in the event that we use their services? Or are we paying them up front for services that we haven't even received yet?
No, the $25,000 is going to be used to make other connections that have to be made in the street. So when Mr. Mays is talking about some of the apparatus that was placed into the new building, that was part of the design, it was part of the intent. Now we have to take it to the next step and do the connections in the street.
All right. Well, if I decide to go along with it, I don't know what the rest of the council is going to do, but if I decide to go along with this piece of the project, I can tell you right now, understanding the negotiations and the issues that we've had with United Water, I'm not interested in a long-term contract with the East Orange Water Commission. I'm just not.
Council President.
Just putting that out there in the event that your negotiations may go that way, to utilize the East Orange Water Commission as opposed to United Water, I'm not feeling East Orange Water Commission.
Well, and that's only going to.
And I'm putting the cart before the horse.
Right. But keep in mind that that's only going to be used, the emergency connection, in the event of an emergency.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
provide water. Okay.
Understood.
All right.
I just put that out there way in advance.
Don't have a discussion because he's not feeling it. Okay.
I just want to be clear. This is not changing what we have currently with United Water. We're not giving our water to East Orange.
No,
this is just
absolutely not.
Something that you had in place that you want to continue or make an additional to for emergency in case something does happen to our water.
It's something that the city had previously.
Right.
When we had the old pump station.
Right.
It was designed with the new pump station. We're just actually making the connection.
Okay. That's all it is.
It's all it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Mobley, what other municipalities can we do this emergency water connection with? Are there other options? If this council said no to this municipality, are there any other options on the table?
I would have to research that and let you know. I would have to research that and see if there are any other options for an emergency connection.
Well, I asked that question. I asked if there was any other alternatives.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why wouldn't we look at all the, when we went out for this, Mr. Mays and Mr. Mobley, why didn't we look at all the alternatives as opposed to just looking at one?
And I'd like to do a little research, but I'll give you what I think the answer is. The answer is that the proximity to East Orange and the pipes. I'm sure the city has the ability to buy water from other people, but this, knowing that their connection is right there at our plant, it makes it, number one, cheaper to buy the water, and it just makes it more convenient. And again, this is something that we had previously.
And okay, but can we just make sure, let's not assume that, can we just make sure that it is the best and the only option, the best price and the only option?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other?
So with that being said, are we going to keep this on the agenda?
Is this something that we can wait until next meeting? I would ask that we wait.
Yeah.
Until
Okay.
next
Let's wait until the next meeting, and we'll come back and see if there are any other alternatives.
Okay.
Okay.
So and that's number 134 is being postponed. 134 is being postponed. Council members, are there any other resolutions and or ordinances to discuss? If not, we're going to do a motion to enter into a brief executive session that should take no more than 15 to 20 minutes, that we have to get some legal things for legal matters that we have to discuss before we go. Some things we may have to vote on in the next session. So I need a motion to enter into executive session.
Motion.
Motion by Martin? No, I'm sorry.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. Who's the
That was
motion
me.
by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. Roll call, Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason. Councilwoman Summers Johnson. Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
We'll be going into executive session, so if Matt, you can shut down. Ready, Matt?
This is the regular meeting of the City of... This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in the Council Chamber, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, May 5th, 2015, following the conference meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Coley.
Present.
Councilman Corbett.
Here.
Councilwoman Eason. Here. Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Present.
Councilman Johnson Jr.
Present.
Did I say it wrong?
No, you didn't.
Oh.
He likes to
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Here.
Council President Williams.
Present.
Also present myself, Joyce Lanier, Municipal Clerk. Mr. Matt, Director of Finance. Ms. Lascari, Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Mays, Administration Rep. And Ms. Homer's Clerk's Office. The requirements of NJSA 10:4-9 et seq., the Sunshine Law, has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the Records Transcript July 17, 2014, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk. Item 4, there are no minutes to be approved. Reports. Department of Planning and Economic Development for the month of March 2015 collected $45,895. Clerk's Office report. For the month of April 2015, collected $585.90. Constable reports. Muhammad Tori submitted a revised report for the month of February 2015. A court summons was served to Rame Doe on February 27, 2015. Muhammad Tori for the month of March 2015 and the month of April 2015, there was no activity reported. Richard Noisy for the month of April 2015. On April 18, 2015, Mr. Noisy provided security service for Pro Cops. Darnell Brody for the month of April 2015, there was no activity reported. OPA request. At this time, there are no available reports.
And regarding the committee reports, council members, if there's nothing that's pressing, I would ask that you hold off until the next meeting. But if there's something pressing, could you let me know if you need to give the report tonight? Any committee? Councilwoman Eason?
Just real quickly, I just want to know for the council that the planning board just approved a new business that's coming to Orange.
Taco Bell.
A Taco Bell at the corner of North Jefferson and Main Street.
When will it be coming?
Well, hopefully they will start very soon. They're hoping to open by the fall.
North Jefferson and Main? Okay. And
the laundromat's leaving, the Spanish restaurant's leaving.
Okay.
And the shoe store's going to move on Main Street.
And why you get a report in planning? White Castle never closed, though, did they? They're not going to close? White Castle's not going to close now? White
Castle had delayed their until they will be tearing down White Castle in September. They didn't do it in January as they predicted because of the snow, and they could not work during the bad weather, and they didn't want to lose the money, so they decided to wait till the weather. So they should be starting their project in September.
That's the planning board report. Councilwoman Gordon.
Yes, the fire director did have some items, but he said he could save them for the next meeting.
Okay.
So,
clerk, please file reports. We're now going to citizens' comments. There are no communications and petitions as well.
Pursuant to Section 4-10 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, each person addressing the council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name and address in an audible tone for the record, and unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 10 minutes. The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments.
Thank you. Now for our citizens' comment. I see that some people have left, and I will make a public apology that we went so late, but there were some pressing matters. Alexander, I will call their name just for the record. Alexandra Charles left. She is out there? You see Ms. Charles? Yes.
No, I just have a question.
You can, yeah.
What Councilwoman Eason said about Taco Bell, that's a public record? Like that's...
Councilwoman, while we wait for Ms. Charles to come, and take your time, Ms. Charles, Councilwoman Eason, is that a Taco Bell a matter of public record? Has it been announced?
Like, is that something that can be announced, or like, is that something that can be announced? Or that's, I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes, it's a matter of public.
I think I also announced it at the library.
Okay.
Because he's going to be a partner at the library.
Okay, no problem. You know I'm doing my apps.
Alexandra Charles.
Alexandra Charles from 46 Hampton Terrace and part of the CBC. The purpose of me asking for this venue, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity, is that I went to pay my water bill and I had an extensive talk with our water manager, and so some of the things that I'm learning about our departments and stuff like that. So before we kind of present to you what our finding of it, because it's all good when we look at the budget and you said the numbers don't match, but it's even better when you go to the department and have a talk with the people that actually work in the department. And two departments that I've been concerned about one is the police department. I'm kind of flawed by the money that we spend on overtime for police department. And I have spoke to a couple of people and things, and seeing that we are just so slow in making these decisions about hiring more police officers. And as we heard from the head of police, we won't be able to do that until a year and a half again. And so we're already going to say that $1 million that we spent, we're going to spend it again next year. And so I think that we should do a better fiduciary towards the people of our town to act a little bit faster so that we don't miss that opportunity to hire. And that's $1 million that goes back into our system that is a need, not a want. That's one department. Then another department that I looked into was the water department. I just feel like I think that there's a part in our budget that talks about, you know, hiring another clerk to just collect water. That's a need. And also speaking with the head that they're not shutting off water. You don't pay, you know, that's something that he's put into a paperwork for you guys to look onto, that people need to shut up. PSC&G don't play. They will shut you off if you do not pay. And we've been too lenient on, even the property is abandoned, we still have water. And properties don't pay their mortgage and taxes, and we still have water. And I just think that we need to be a little bit more aggressive in starting to shut off the water when people do not pay. And that's like a bill that will help our people to just really know that we're serious. I understand we're a loving community, we're a small community, we want to help everybody, but at the end of the day, finances is depleting. And if we don't have it to pay, we won't have a town left to function. So these are the things that, you know, that was a concern for me, that was love in my heart. So I went to speak to a couple of heads, and I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. And, you know, there's another gentleman that spoke a couple of weeks back, or a month back now. I'm, you know, he talks about him being, you know, head of this and head of that and doing the certain things, and kind of bashed everyone and tell everybody need to go to school. But one thing that I've learned in business and my education is that conflict resolution is done very, very smart. And how smart it is, it's the sandwich effect. Guys, you're doing a good job. This is my problem. And guys, I thank you for being part of this job. So I think that in everything that we do, we're not perfect. And I've never seen, no matter how much schooling, and I've been to a lot, there's no schooling that says how to be a public official. And you have to really learn that by being a people person. And one thing that I have to say about my councilman, I've spoken to him, he says, hey, you know what, you have to be reachable. You have to be able to reach the people. And I don't care what kind of job you're in and how high you are. If people can't talk to you, you're no good to no one. So no matter how much schooling you get, it doesn't equate to you being approachable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. Seriously. William R. Lewis, he's gone. Orlando Soto.
I would like to withdraw my request to speak.
Yes, okay, thank you. Caitlin Gordon.
Good evening, Kathleen Gordon, 211 Park Place. I felt that I was very well responded to last time when I asked our legislative research officer to respond to my question about one particular Orange City code, and I would like to have him prominently today again. I have two questions that he could and hopefully will answer. One is, I'm not even sure how to put it. this scene that happened last time. Mr. Feld was interrupted and got very upset and left, and actually was led out. I myself am also interested to sometimes mention different issues that are that have to do with legal claims. And I would like today to have it once for all put out what is admissible to talk about and what is not admissible. It is not appropriate to guess and sometimes being interrupted that this maybe is not right, maybe is right. We need to know exactly what the borderlines are and why. Because, for example, the legislative process that this council is engaged in, obviously there is no jury. So we need to understand what is holding back people, what is holding you back even, to respond to questions about what is going on there. Obviously you are not influencing with divulging what is happening there, anything that would influence anybody. So make it clear, please, why not talk about certain issues and how much not talk about certain issues. That's one question of mine. Regarding Ordinance 28-2015,
Ms. Gordon, that's been removed.
it has been removed.
27, 28, 27 through 31 has been removed.
Coming back?
Possibly, it'll be coming back in a different
If it
form.
is not on the agenda, can it be still touched?
I would ask that you wait because it's going to come back in a different form.
Okay. Skip that. Resolution 132, 2015, describing this decommissioning a well number 6, which have been replaced with well number 6R. I am interested to know why was that well replaced and when. And I am also baffled with the bid prices that we are taking the lowest bidder of the commissioning for 18,000, and there was a highest bidder of 104,000. And are we talking about the same service for 5 times more, or is it a different service, including much more? That is one question. And the next one is Resolution 133, which raises a change order that will for about $4,000, and according to my calculations, that about a 6 or 7% increase. And as it is described, it is necessitated by a wrong pre-measurement of some part of the piping, and not being aware of originally that some piping is plugged, and that would not be necessary to change. So again, I come up over and over that why aren't the contracts better done, better specified? Here is another example of that. And regarding the 134 2015
134 is going to be withdrawn as well.
withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay, skip that. That's all done. Thank you. So the questions,
Okay,
the
I
legal
have your
questions. Thank you.
noted. Bruce Meyer. He's left. And Gloria Stewart.
Gloria Stewart, resident of Orange. First of all, I would just like to thank you for the certificate. It was a pleasant surprise. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, my concerns as a resident of, as someone said, this great city. And I'm going to start off by saying the mayor is not here, and I know, you know, he possibly cannot hear me, and I think that he should be. The next question I want to raise, we have a new person sitting in,
Ms. Lanier.
yeah, now is that temp or what? Just, okay. So I'd like some response on that. The other thing, I want to go back and say that I was like really pleased with the guests that we had today. I'm in that company, you know, by attending conferences through NJEA most of the time, because they are, as I said before, they are friends of educators and friends of people that they represent. And it was awesome that you went that length to have them here. And I know that it took some doing. So from me, I appreciate that. Then and I know the young lady that spoke about from Hampton Terrace is my neighbor, but I just want to touch bases with the water. Personally, I don't think we need to increase it. Everybody might not be able to pay it at the rate. You know, you have some people that things are a little more difficult for them than others, and then by increasing the water, I personally, I don't think it's going to make a dent in what our finances are. There are other areas that we might be able to work on. And then while I'm talking about water, it was like, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Poltergeist, when, you know, the dead, I think they started coming up and all of that. So as I sat here, I was listening to the water, going back to East Orange Commission, and I remember when Mayor Hackett was here, and he had given away our water, and I'm saying you don't give away your resources and to take our water back. So we still got to a point where we did take it from East Orange, and we got United Waters, and we might still have some issues with them. But to run back to East Orange, you know, I have a concern with that. And not even for emergency purposes. And I think when they did go to East Orange, it was to get things in place to better us. But, you know, the prices and everything went like out of sort. And it's always good to keep your own resources. So I'm asking you not to, if you did make the suggestion wherein research other neighboring communities, just don't take the first one, knowing especially that we had East Orange Water Commission work with them and how it went when they had us. And the other thing is, I wanted to go, and when I say bringing up things from the past, the problem property list. I was on a committee that went for years. We got the list in place. And I think we had like EWAG, those are some of the committees we had, and they had this list of problem properties, and then they had the task force. So you're talking about going back to that, and if I understood it correctly, some said that you didn't have a list, and then it was brought up that you do have a list, and I know for a fact that we do have a list. Now I don't know how many problem properties have been taken off. Then the other question I would raise is, when you get that list and you want to add to making the people accountable, my question is, what are you going to do if they're not? Do you just take possession of the properties? What do you have in mind for those properties? Is it to get them set to sell them to a developer so we can get what we have going on now? Or are you going to try to restore them wherein grassroots people can eventually take over? So those are some of the concerns I have when you talk about what you plan to do with this list and the commission or the group that you want to get to be in charge of that list. And I think it's something that maybe you should revisit before we go there. We do have this list. And I think Marty was part of that group that, well, he was in it to a point where he was aware of the list, and he did acknowledge that, I think, if I understood him tonight. The other thing, you have those people who go out and inspect the problem properties. What is the accountability, or what is their accountability? Like, I think it's Cafante.
Code enforcement.
Yeah, and that code enforcement. What's their responsibility? I like if a person is staying in a house, they come, and if something wrong with it, they give you a penalty, a time to fix it. And I've also had some conversation with them. If there's an absent lord, a person, then they give you the saying that, you know, we have to go through this, you got to go to court, it takes time to get this taken care of. So those are some of the things we need to consider when we are looking into this property, abandoned property list. You said that you had taken off, I think it was 27. That's what I was.
27 to 31.
So that's
yeah.
Coming off to revamp it and to come back. There was something else. Oh, the library. I know we have our person who, and I want to just say that it was very nice, the 130-year celebration that you had. I thought it was very nice. And I hope that that's an indication that we're going to work toward keeping it going, moving forward. I don't know if you have a report for us tonight. I do have one from way back that, as it relates to the grant and the people that you had there at the celebration. What does that mean? Where are we now with the $750,000? What do we need? And the other thing before I think sort of wait for my response is, Mr. Johnson, when it comes to your project, I mean being on the, what is it, the Housing Authority? I think before you didn't really give us a report, but will we have something tonight? Because I think the building that they're working on now is almost ready.
Ms. Stewart, I asked all committees because of the hour to report at the next council
meeting.
Oh,
the next council meeting. All right, so you're giving me another meeting anyway. But anyway, those are some of the things that, you know, I have a concern about. And I'm not going to use, I have a minute or two, I'm not going to use it all since we're late. But I thank you again. All right.
Excuse me, Madam President. You want to make a motion to extend the meeting?
First, I want to do a motion to close citizens' comments.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I need a motion to extend the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Summers Johnson, second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Aye.
Well, let me do a roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
No.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Junior, yes.
Councilwoman Butler? No. And I am in favor. Did you get that? Okay.
5 yeas, 2 noes.
5 yeas and 2 noes. The motion has been extended. In response to the questions, I will go from the bottom up. Ms. Stewart, we're not going to respond to the property list because they're going to go back and revamp it, and they'll come back with a revised ordinance. There's going to be a meeting of council members and directors to discuss it and to bring it back. Regarding the library, again, that report will be at the next meeting. Mr. Mobley, did you want to respond to the regard to the water increase?
Water increase,
No, Ms. Stewart said that she didn't believe that. No, I'm just saying, but it's his department. That Ms. Stewart didn't feel that it was, right now, that the water increase would not be good for the residents. Do you have a response? Ms. Stewart made the response regarding an increase for the water department. At this time, it would be not good. It would not be good for the residents of Orange. Do you have a response to that?
We're not seeking an increase. No.
Do you want to come to the mic and say? I understand, Ms. Stewart, but I just want him to clarify.
Well, I didn't hear the question, but based on what the statement,
Mm-hmm.
but based on what you just said, I can only respond by saying we're not currently seeking an increase.
Okay, thank you. Regarding RMC, we are pleased to say that the City Council has unanimously voted to hire Ms. Lanier as our registered municipal clerk. Today is her first day, and Joyce Lanier is our registered municipal clerk, is our RMC. She has been hired by the council. Effective today is her first day, and
Second day.
oh, you're right. I'm not. Today is her second day, and let me even say she's been here since she was voted at the April 7th meeting, I believe. She's been here continuously, been to several events, been observing the office, watching, and she officially started on Monday. She gave her welcome at the beginning of the meeting, and she comes by way of Newark with, I think, over 18 years of experience, 15 years of experience in the clerk's office in a major city in Essex County. So again, we welcome her, and she's available. Go stop by and see her, and she is anxious to talk to the residents and just hear, what it is that they would like to see in the clerk's office. Your record has been noted. The record has been noted regarding the mayor not being here. Moving to Ms. Gordon, 133-2015. That's the change order. Director Mays, could you respond to that?
Right. This is a change order for the Monroe Street sewer lining project. And what happened is an example of a reduction and an addition both in one change order. Based on some information that was provided back in 2013, a TV inspection, before the new sewer lining was put in place, there was another survey of the pipes that showed that a portion of the pipe was 3 inches difference than what was seen back in 2013. And then also there was view through TVing of these pipes. There was 35 laterals. 7 of them were discovered to be plugged, which caused an addition. So there's an addition and a reduction all in one on this change order for $3,220. I think this is a classic example of, what a change order looks like and what it should be. Ms. Gordon stated that there was something wrong with the contracts. I don't understand that statement. The way the contract was written really doesn't have anything to do with what was seen and what was found to be true based on both instances.
And on 132-2015,
132-2015.
what a difference in that. One was 18 and you had a bid as high
Oh, I'm
as
sorry. She
104.
did also ask, was it for the same services?
You going back to 133?
Yeah, I'm going back to 133. I'm
Okay.
sorry. She did ask, was it the same services? The same service, decommissioning of the well, so it has to be that way. When you receive quotes or bids, it should be apples to apples, oranges to oranges. I can't account for why one company wanted to charge something, but in this case, you
You're
took...
on 132 now.
Yeah, 132.
Okay.
In this case, you took the lowest quota at 18,000. And then going to 132, I'm sorry, still on 132, but one of her other questions was, when was the well last used? I believe that was her question. Well was used 10 years ago, and that's the reason why they're asking now for it to be decommissioned. So what will happen is the well will be bored, and then it will be filled in with cement, and there'll be a report issued. Mr. Mobley can answer any question that I didn't left off. Or
I just wanted to add a little bit of information to that. And one of the things we have is a water allocation permit that we receive annually from the Department of Environmental Protection, the Bureau of Water Allocation and Well Permitting. It indicates finding a fact that it was actually on November 19, 2009, that the City of Orange replaced well 6 with well 6R. And we replaced that well because well 6 was no longer functioning. And so well 6R, the R being for replacement, is very similar in depth and pump capacity to well number 6. And so DEP, in their water allocation permit, there's a section here that says staff analysis. And in their staff analysis, one of the things that they noted, and I state, I quote, "Since well 6 is not in use, it should be properly decommissioned." So we are decommissioning this well based on the recommendations of DEP.
Thank you very much. Mr. White, Ms. Gordon asked about litigation, and I don't believe you were here last meeting. Attorney Smith, as resident was as Mr. Feld was speaking, stopped me as to what he was speaking about was a matter of litigation. So Ms. Gordon's question is to how much, when something's in litigation, how much are we at liberty to talk about, and that whole process.
At liberty to talk about without going into closed. At liberty to talk about without going into closed session.
Right, or in front of the public specifically, right.
I think it's a fact-sensitive question. There was a case that I was reading related to OPMA today, and it kind of broached that subject in that it said sometimes it may be appropriate to disclose the name of a case or a name of the litigation, and sometimes it may not be. So it depends on, even sometimes the name of the litigation or the parties should not be disclosed, sometimes they should, and it depends really on the nature of the litigation, where it is. It's a difficult question to answer, that there's like a hard and fast rule, and I think even that case spoke to that.
Okay, thank you very much. And in that, he was asked to stop, and Mr. Attorney Smith wanted to explain why he wanted to stop, and Mr. Feld wanted to go on. Is there a process in how that would normally happen or should happen if we're talking and the chair or the attorney stops conversation?
That's what I would probably think that would be appropriate, is the attorney either indicates to the chair, or the chair stops and asks for the attorney's opinion on it, and at that point it can be determined whether it should be an item that should not further, there should be no further discussion on that item, and there should be a justification given to the extent you can. But if pending litigation and it gets too in depth and it should be closed session, then like I said, I think it's a fact-sensitive inquiry. Each case is going to be different.
Council President?
Yeah.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
I think, but in that case, excuse me, he was stopped, but his time was just stopped so that the question could be answered. And I think that was a miscommunication in that he was going to have to end right there, but you stopped him to get clarification for him to then start the timer again. So I think
Attorney Harris,
there was miscommunication in that.
Legislative Research Officer Harris, did you want to, I see you sit back, did you want to say something?
Good evening, Kevin Harris, Legislative Research Office. That is correct. Councilwoman Summers Johnson is correct, Madam President. You I remember you specifically saying to Mr. Feld that you were going to give him an opportunity to finish, that you had preserved his time, but Mr. Smith had raised an issue because Mr. Feld was speaking as to matters of litigation, and Mr. Smith said, well, if he's speaking as an attorney, this should be heard in an executive session because Mr. Feld is an attorney. So it was dealing with a litigation matter that he's presently pursuing with the city. So Mr. Smith said, if he's speaking as an attorney, this should go into executive session. Mr. Feld was not denied the right to finish his comments. There may have been a miscommunication there, misunderstanding, but I remember you specifically saying you were going to afford him the opportunity to finish his comments after Mr. Smith weighed in.
Thank you very much. We can't go back and if we want to talk, I'll stay to talk afterwards. But we can't. That's closed, and I understand if we have to come back to the next meeting, we'll come back. But we can't go on with the conversation. Regarding Ms. Charles, thank you for your statement. You also made, from your position from sitting on the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, the council has heard your recommendations in both the water department and the police department. I will say that, and I can't remember last year in the water department if we left that. I think we did leave that position there in the water department, and I know we left all the position in the police department. So the council did everything that we wanted to do in terms of making sure that the police department and was made whole in terms of the positions, and administration did not fill them. We're going to work diligently again this year. I know, to my right, the passion is very heavy, amongst all, but you probably will hear Councilman Corbett say it very often, Councilman Coley and Councilwoman Easton speak about the police and the need for us to fill those positions, and we will. I'm sure we will look at that as we complete the budget this year.
Council President.
I'm getting ready to go to Councilwoman. I'm going to go to Council comments, so we can start with you, Councilwoman Easton.
Well, that was going to be related to what she just said, and I think one of the things is that maybe she needs to understand how the process works. So I would ask that unless our director explain to her how it works when he gets the new officer, how long it takes, because my understanding is, I think I met with the mayor and Ms. Cooper, I want to say last week, and Ms. Cooper has asked for a list of officers so they can start doing the list. She called Trenton that day to make sure we get the list, but maybe our director can come up and if we put them in the budget, once we get the list identified, the officers that how the process works, how long it takes, they have to do the. Director, you want to come back and explain to the citizens so she'll explain.
Just in due time. I spoke to him.
Okay.
So you understand how the
She's
process
and
works?
that's what she was speaking to. Because if you recall, Director spoke about the time and list, and that's what she was responding to. Yes.
Even if we get them there, it probably won't be a while before. But I do know that they are working on a list, and we will make sure that we follow up and stay on top of that, because we do need new officers. So, but don't think we're sitting on our laurels and not doing anything, because I'm an advocate for the police department, and I do know because I have some problems in my ward that's got to be addressed this summer, and so.
Can I just add something, Councilwoman Easton?
We're going to come to council comments. She's doing her council comments, so it's her council comments. So I'll come right to you. Just so
I'm done.
Yes, your council comments?
I'm going to go home.
I'm okay. Councilman Coley?
Yeah, I just want to just pick up where Councilwoman Easton left off as far as needing police officers. We need officers hired from our civil service list. We don't need to hire officers from different municipalities. We need our people from our list, from our city.
Local
people.
Well, that is what I said. They requested a list from Trenton. But also, we also have to understand if there's officers out there that's already trained and willing to come, it saves us some dollars. and that I think the director would have a say in who he takes and who he does not take. But there are some officers that we could get that's already been through the academy, that's looking to move to another city. So that's another way we can acquire new police.
Councilman Coley, are you finished with your council comments?
Yes, I don't want to go back and forth with that.
But are you finished with your council comments?
Yeah. The only issue that I have with hiring officers that's already trained, we are killing residents that is on our list.
So we need to have that
That's the only
conversation.
issue that I have.
And that's the only council comments you have?
That's
Councilman
just leave it.
Corbett?
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Mays, who cleans the catch basins after a rainstorm? I do around my way.
United Water.
I do. The reason I ask is because it appears after the rainstorm, things go downstream and it builds up. The leaves, debris, and twigs and things like that. And so when there's other trash coming down, it piles up and it just goes backwards. And so if there's a plan in place, I know in these storms they have a sewer division. And so those guys ride around town after a snowstorm or rainstorm, and they physically get out the car and remove all that debris. I don't see that happening in Orange. I know we don't have a sewer division. We have Public Works. Can you implement a plan like that where someone gets out the car, looks at the catch basins, and remove the debris so that stuff doesn't build up and continue to make our city look like trash?
Yeah, I can definitely put something into place. That's not a problem. But in the meantime, if you see something, just let me know and then I can have it addressed.
The Y. The Y is being leased out, correct? The Y.
Are we?
We are leasing it out. We are letting folks use the Y for a fee.
Are we in a lease with the Y?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Attorney White, are we in a lease with the Y?
We are negotiating an agreement with the trustee that comports with the resolution that was passed, I believe, a couple weeks ago. So I wouldn't say we're in a lease with the Y or the trustee yet, but that should be.
Okay, so when the facility is being leased by outside folks, those funds are not coming to the city. They're still going to the trustee of the Y. Logically speaking.
Currently, so you're saying currently, if somebody does an event there, who receives the funds, the city or the trustee?
I would I don't want to assume. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to assume. I would assume that the trustee would still, until the lease is finalized, have a right to those proceeds. But I don't know if there's another agreement that after a certain date, those proceeds are being held in trust, or I'm not sure.
And I wouldn't want you to assume. I want to know factually what's going on in that process.
We'd have to get back with you.
Thank you. The soccer field at Central Playground. I understand there have been an organization that plays soccer there, and the field is being leased out, or they are renting every time they use it. Are you familiar with that, Mr. Mays?
No, I'm not familiar with that. I'll look into that, though.
Please look into that and see how the funds are being exchanged and where those funds are going to. Mr. Mays, Councilman Eason wants to know if you're not renting it out, who's renting it out and where's the money going?
I'm not familiar with that. I have to look into it.
They were out there on
Oh,
Saturday.
he's gonna be
Friday.
Saturday, maybe Sunday too.
Yeah, they were out there.
Sunday.
And
So
Council, they were out there?
Councilwoman, for the sake of time, he's gonna respond tomorrow. Director Mayor.
So apparently there is an agreement, and someone is raping in the benefits of that. And as the council, we need to know how that money is coming in, check or cash, and what pot is it going into. Yeah, and all those things. Who's renting it, how long they're leasing it, all of the above. And lastly,
And do they have to rent their field out?
Yeah, Mr. Matthews.
Do they have to rent the field? You talking about Central Playground?
Yes, the soccer, the football field that can be
Councilman
used for
Corbett, let me
soccer.
just go to Councilwoman Easton. Councilwoman, are you sure that there's renting, or people just on there playing?
That's what I was going to
No,
say.
these were
They
teams.
are,
But are
they
they
renting.
on there just playing?
They are renting.
Playing a game.
And you know that
They
somebody
are
said
renting.
they're renting. Okay,
Yes.
so can we find out who the agreement with is for Central Playground?
I bet you there's no agreement.
And Mr. Mapp,
Would you know?
are you aware of any rental
I bet you
agreement
there's no agreement.
I am not aware. I would imagine you would need a permit.
I bet you there's no agreement.
for the city of Orange? Okay.
I bet you they don't have
If you can, Mr. Mapp and Mr. Mays, get back. Councilwoman Easton?
Also, why you doing that? The Y is having the same issue.
We asked that question. We got it.
Next time, don't go back there. Stay here. All right. And lastly, Mr. Mays, and I'm going to say this publicly. I'm very disappointed in the way you've been responding to my consistent questions concerning the use of these city vehicles. Very disappointed. I thought you were someone who I could rely on to bring me back valid information, to move things in the direction that they should be going in, and do what's right for the city. But when it comes to the city, the vehicles for the city, I can't get the reports that we've been asking for. I can't get the city emblem to go on every single vehicle that we have. I know for a fact that there's a nice, brand new, shiny, white pickup truck that Public Works has. And someone within that department is taking that vehicle home every single day and using it for their own personal use. And that has to stop. I'd like to know, when can we finally get a report? When are the stickers going to go on every vehicle? When can we get the report on the gas that's being used, the repairs on the vehicles? I really thought that you were going to, man up and provide that information to me, but I'm not very happy right now, Mr. Mays.
That's not a sandwich.
I'm sorry?
You're supposed to tell the good, the bad, and the good. That was not a sandwich.
Okay. The good was that prior to me asking about these vehicles, Mr. Mays, you always provided me with information.
There you go.
How's that?
That's better.
That's conflict resolution. But I'm still not happy with when I'm asking you consistently for the reports on the city vehicles.
Right,
now, our relationship can be restored if I can get you to just provide me with.
Why can't you follow the protocol? It's a sandwich.
That is a sandwich. I did the good, and I did the bad, and I said we can restore.
It's a setup.
And let's say, and Director Mays, and if you're not able to provide the information, just state that you're not able to provide it. Okay.
Well, I could actually provide a lot of the information, and I feel comfortable in providing that information. But one thing that I always said is that, the city has not named anybody officially as the fleet manager, and I think that's the direction that the city needs to go in. Somebody needs to be named officially by resolution as fleet manager to take on those responsibilities. All of the things that Councilman Corbin has asked me are all things that I think are doable and that I know that I could provide, but I'm not officially named the fleet manager for the city, and I'm not going to take on any more responsibility unless that happens. So that's something I could take back to the administration.
So you feel that you would have better control over these items if we had somebody that was overseeing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's something for me to consider. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I know that we have to get better control over the use of our city vehicles. And if that's going to be a way in which we can get better control, then it's something that we can look into. Because we got to stop the waste. It doesn't make sense for. And council, you see an ordinance here tonight that I'm sponsoring. I'm adding to that, in addition to asking for the reports that we consistently have not been getting. I'm asking for tighter restraints on the vehicles being used by department heads and others, taking them home for their own personal use. And we want to stop that. We want them to bring their own vehicles to work. If they have to use a vehicle during the course of the day, get out their car, use the city vehicle. When at the end of the day, park that vehicle, get in your own car, and go home. Leave the city vehicle on the city property. The ordinances are rewritten the ordinance to include that piece. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Butler?
No comment.
And council members, I'm going to come back to you because I want to remind that you all should not leave this building tonight without wishing all of the mothers in Orange a happy Mother's Day. So I'll let you come back and say it when you come. Councilman Johnson.
Junior.
This is what happened when we stay out of the thing.
Council President, I have to be in full agreement with my council colleague. Since I've been on the council, man, he's been driving this point home ever since July of 2014. And here we are, May 5th, 2015, and the goalpost has gotten moved again. When is it ever going to stop? Now we have a director of multiple departments. Now he needs to have a designated manager to do something that we were saying, that we would promise would be done next month. Next month. Next month. And here we are, moving the goalpost once again. So is it in the 2015 budget that we're hiring somebody to be a fleet manager now? I think this nonsense has to stop. Period. I'm finished.
That's
I'm
not
through.
a sandwich either.
I have no sandwich.
And you from Atlantic City. Y'all known for sandwiches. I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
I have no comment because I can't stop laughing and I'm just not going to say anything intelligent, so I have no comment. I'm sorry.
By way of announcement again, the community has lost one of our Orange heroes, and that was Mr. Monica. He was laid to rest today. Send condolences to the Monica family. Also got correspondence that Council President Holman in East Orange lost her mother, and the arrangements are going to be down south, and they are all, I'm sure we all got information in our package, and we wanted to send condolences out to Honorable Alicia Holman, and that there will be a memorial service here in Jersey at a later date. Again, I want to, and I can reiterate that the New Jersey Transit public hearings are going to be on May 20th at 5:30, and I'll do an announcement to be posted in the clerk's office, and it's going to be in Newark at 1 Penn Plaza. And also the health fair, the Orange Board of Education's health fair, is Saturday, May 9th, and is it at the Orange High School, Councilman?
Lincoln Avenue.
At Lincoln Avenue School, beginning at what time?
10 o'clock.
At 10 a.m., May 9th, 10 a.m. Please come. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please come by. There'll be screenings, lots of information. It's the annual health fair. Ms. Gray works and everybody that works with her works very hard on it, so please come out. And last but not least, to all of the mothers, particularly mine, I want to wish you a happy, happy Mother's Day. And also for my mom, every 10 years, her birthday is on Mother's Day, so it'll be happy Mother's Day and happy birthday for my mom as well. With that, clerk, please move the agenda.
There are no ordinances on second reading. Ordinance introduction, first reading. Ordinance 24-2015. An ordinance creating the City of Orange Township Arts and Culture Commission and to further provide for membership, tasks, and responsibilities, other administrative functions, and other general provisions. Sponsored by Council Member Galt Butler.
Is there a motion to adopt on first reading?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Galt.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson.
No.
It was moved by
She
Councilman
doesn't look like
Corbett,
me.
Second by
She's better looking than I am.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilman Johnson. On the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.
Yes.
Councilwoman Galt Butler.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well.
7 yeas. Motion passed unanimously. 25-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 185 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township regarding streets and sidewalks, sponsored by Council Member Coley.
Motion to adopt on first reading.
Motion.
Moved by
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon Butler?
In favor.
And I am in favor as well.
7 yeas, motion passed. 26-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 23 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township regarding personnel policies, sponsored by Councilmember Corbett.
Motion to adopt?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gaunt Butler, second by Councilman Johnson Jr. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
In favor.
And I am in favor as well.
7 yeas, motion passed. 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31 were withdrawn. 32, 2015, an ordinance establishing a water and sewer billing policy for the City of Orange Township.
Motion to adopt on first
Move.
reading, moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Eason on the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
In favor.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well.
7 yeas, motion passed. There's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules of the meeting to place resolution number 142, 2015.
Move.
Second.
There will be a public hearing for all the motions on all ordinances on what day?
June 3rd.
June 3rd, 2015.
So we have two place on the record. It's 142 and 143.
Right.
Right.
There's a motion to suspend the rules of the meeting to place resolution number 142, 2015, and resolution 143, 2015 on the agenda.
Move. Can you?
Wait, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Summers, Gaunt Butler. Roll call, on the motion, I'm sorry. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
In favor.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well.
7 yeas, motion passed.
And I don't know if there were copies for the public out there. 140, read by title what 142 is.
For the record, Resolution 142, 2015 reads, Resolution authorizing settlement of litigation entitled Orlando Soto versus the City of Orange Township et al. Resolution 143, 2015 reads, Resolution authorizing the City of Orange Township to award the bid for the sale of various tax sale certificates, including subsequent municipal liens held by the City of Orange Township. Item number 11, consent agenda. All items listed.
What, huh?
I'm sorry. You're doing Orlando Soto now, right?
No,
You're doing
we put
142.
them on the agenda. They're on the consent agenda.
142 and 143.
Right,
Right.
right. Now we're going to start up with the consent agenda statement.
All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda.
Council members, we will be considering 82-2015, which has been postponed for a period of time as well. Are there any resolutions that you want removed from the agenda?
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Gaunt Butler?
125, 2015. 127, 2015.
Uh-huh.
140, 2015. 141, 2015. And 143, 2015.
143.
What was that after 127?
After 125 has been removed, 127, 140, 141, and 143. And as a reminder, 134 is withdrawn. It's 134 is postponed. I'm sorry. Did you say withdrawn?
Postpone.
134 is postponed. Council members, are there any other resolutions that you would like removed? Again, 125 is removed, 127 is removed, 134 is postponed, 140, 141, and 143 is removed for a separate vote. Okay, you ready to go to the consent agenda? Okay.
Consent agenda is 82, 126, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, and 142.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passed. Going back to the matters that have been removed for a separate vote. 125, 2015.
A resolution authorizing the cancellation of 8 premiums.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion?
On the motion.
Councilwoman Dawn Butler.
I guess, I think is our tax representative here?
Ms.
Well, who can answer the
Wait, let me
question why
just
we're
say-
canceling the 8 premiums?
Ms. Wingfield, can you speak to 125? Councilwoman?
Jocelyn Wingfield, Deputy Tax Collector.
Just want to know why we're canceling the premiums.
Well, during the tax sale, we can either sell it at a percentage rate, or the third-party lien holder will pay a premium. If the lien is not redeemed within 5 years, then a premium becomes the City of Orange's.
All right, I have another question while she's there, but I'll wait for
Sure.
the next one.
But it's not on this.
No, it's not. So
Okay.
I'll wait.
Are there any other questions on 125?
You can sit back down.
Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon Butler?
In favor.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Moving to 127, 2015.
A resolution authorizing the cancellation of credit balances due to tax overpayment as per the attached list.
Move.
Moved by, Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion,
On the motion.
Councilwoman Butler.
I just have a question. It seems like this is coming up more frequently, and I want to know if there is a rationale or reason for this occurring more frequently.
Ms. Wingfield?
Well, in terms of the cancellation of the credit balances, we have a number of residents who have credits on their property, and they have not come to claim those credits on their property. So what we did is we sent out a notice to the residents stating that they have 30 days to claim the credit of the property. Otherwise, we'll cancel. The ones that are being canceled are more than 4 years old.
Councilman Johnson Jr.
Thank you, Council President. Does the municipality get a response back from the residents one way or the other? I mean, we're talking 2008, 2009. and
We have not received a response.
no response from any of these.
No response.
What's that, somebody's phone? Somebody's phone.
Can you please make sure your phone?
It gotta be somebody's phone.
Sorry, Ms.
It
Wingfield.
can't be any birds.
The chirping.
Birds chirping.
Somebody's phone, please.
That's all I have.
Okay. And you're basically going through cleaning up and making sure.
Correct.
Okay, so this process will be going on for a period of time?
For a period of time, yes.
Okay. Thank you. If there are no more questions to vote, Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
In favor.
Moving to 140. I'm sorry, I'm in favor as well. Thank you.
140, a resolution for emergency temporary appropriation to the calendar year 2015 budget for the month of May.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well.
Resolution 141, a resolution approving the bill list for council meeting vote on May 5th, 2015, dated May 1st, 2015, and approving checks issued by the Finance Department in accordance with Ordinance 2-95.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Eason. On the motion, Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
No.
And I am in favor.
6 yeas, 1 no.
Moving to 143, 2015.
A resolution authorizing the City of Orange Township to award the bid for the sale of various tax sale certificates, including the subsequent municipal liens held by the City of Orange Township.
Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion.
On the motion.
Councilwoman Eason.
Why are we supposed to get a list of the properties
We got the list at night.
before?
We got the list the same night.
I have 4 copies.
Do you have them with you now?
Yes.
But she did go, Ms. Wingfield went and made copies that night. If you can,
On the motion.
okay, she's on the
If
motion now.
Councilwoman Eason's done.
Can you just pass them out, Ms. Wingfield, please, to everybody? Councilwoman White, Gaunt Butler?
Yeah, is this an emergent matter?
The emergent matter is that the administration, for whatever reason, it did not make the agenda. However, the ad stated that the responses to the bid would be after this meeting. So there's a response time that's due to the participants who bid. Ms. Winfield, could you speak to one of the things I did ask for was a copy of the ad which stated that, and I don't see that in the ad. I don't see a copy of the ad. Do you have and I didn't ask you, but I did.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I did ask for a copy of the ad where it said that that the response would be by a date, around this meeting.
Right. Would it be possible for me to get that to your office tomorrow?
Council members,
On the motion.
Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I'm looking at these 2 bids, young lady. What's your name again?
It's Jocelyn. Jocelyn Wingfield.
Jocelyn Wingfield.
Yes.
Both of these, neither one of these bids are date stamped by the tax collector's office. All I see is the date that the letter was drawn up. One, I guess, that's getting awarded, they actually did the letter back in, the bid back in April the 9th. But the second one is April the 27th. When did we actually receive this here in City Hall?
April the 27th.
It was hand carried by Mr. Crum?
Yes, it was.
Is it a practice that the tax department doesn't date stamp?
Usually we do not, no.
And on the resolution, on the approval page, it's just for a transaction to be with the dollar amount being in such a haste, and there's no signature of the department director, no signature of the CFO, and no signature of the deputy business administrator.
Because I was told by administration that all we needed was a signature from the attorney.
I think what this appears to me to be too much of a rush, and that's in my personal opinion. I'm just looking at all these, the information from the posting is not attached. All these missing signatures, no date stamp of the letters coming in. And the biggest question that I have, if this bid is for less than the total amount due, what is the dollar difference that the city is leaving on the table? On the second page of the resolution, when it starts talking about the
1.7 million.
Yeah.
Well, the total amount, the grand total is a little over 3.7 million. So the bid that they gave to me as initially, for about 47% of what the grand total was.
It's about 47%?
Yeah, it's about 47%.
just so you know, when I got the call this evening, Ms. Winfield, one of the things I did ask was for a copy of the ad showing the council that there was a date, time sensitive to respond to the council. I also asked for there to be, I mean, you just quoted the amount, but I also asked that the body of the resolution show that the properties were valued at X and the bid is at X, representing this percentage, but you just said it represents 47%.
40%, yeah.
47%.
Yes.
Of the total amount. And then I asked that it also, okay, I can see the water amount. So,
Council President, are you stealing my thunder?
I'm sorry, because I just wanted what I'm just so you'll know what I asked for. I see the water amount is broken out, but okay.
Okay, and my last question is, if in fact the 27th was the last date that we got the bid on for the tax department to make some kind of a resolution on who should be awarded, that was plenty enough time for this resolution to be drawn up by the Friday before our meeting and not walked on tonight. Especially with not all those signatures being necessary. This was like rapid fire through. Nobody had to sign off on it, but it was received Monday before last. So I will not be supporting it. So.
Mr. Matt?
The Council President and members of the governing body, on behalf of the administration, I would like to strongly urge the Council to give this resolution favorable consideration. This is a very, very important item to the city of to the city of Orange and to the budget process, but it also is an infusion of cash that this city needs very badly. This is $1.7 million, and this item has come before the council on a number of occasions. And this is an excellent deal for the city of Orange. In terms of the question about what do you leave on the table, you're not leaving anything on the table, because if you don't take $1.7 million, you will get nothing. And these liens have no value to the city of Orange as they continue to just sit on the books, because we cannot take these liens back to a tax sale. Once the liens revert to the city, that's why they're known as municipal liens, they just sit on the books unless we foreclose on these properties. And the second benefit, in addition to the $1.7 million, is that the purchaser of these liens at bulk sale will have to begin paying taxes on the properties. So you get the 1.7 plus you get taxes on a current basis. So this is an excellent deal. It's an infusion of cash, and I think it's in the best interest of the city of Orange and the residents for the governing body to approve this particular deal and not focus on the form but on the substance.
Council President.
After
you.
No, you, Councilman Corbett.
Mr. Matt.
Yes.
Sounds like a great deal. We definitely need the influx of the revenue. But what happens after the lien holder takes possession? What are the plans? I mean, are you going to make them stipulate, or are you going to stipulate for them what they have to do with the property in terms of occupying it if it is vacant, in terms of what activity goes on with the property, who's going to actually be living in the property, so forth and so on?
When you acquire liens, you don't own the properties. That will only happen if the lien holder forecloses on the properties.
And that's a possibility.
That is a real possibility. As it is a possibility right now with the city owning these municipal liens. So that could happen as well. But that is something that I believe, and this is just my view, that should be left up to the lien holder and those property owners in terms of what the next step is between the lien holder and the property owners. But it is in the best interest of the city to go forward with this and to get that infusion of cash, which will also, as I mentioned, bring these properties back onto the tax roll, and you will collect taxes on an ongoing basis.
Well, I certainly don't want the city to have possession of those properties. It's better for the city to have someone else to take possession of those properties. And in the event that that happens, I don't agree with your statement. I think that we should stipulate something that pretty much clears, spells out how those properties are to be used. I don't want to see a ton of boarding houses in the city of Orange. I don't want to see folks purchasing these properties and just all types of activity going on in front, outside, in and out of the property. I don't want to see any of that. It's beginning to happen already.
The owner of, if the lien holder were to foreclose on these properties, the lien holder, like anyone who owns properties, well, not the lien holder, the owner of the properties, would be subject to the zoning, all of the laws of the city of Orange. So it's not a matter of the owner of the property being able to do anything he or she wishes to do with the properties. The owner would be subject to all of the rules and regulations of the city of Orange.
So you're saying that it's up to us to enforce that?
It is
Enforce
up,
the rules.
it would be up to the city of Orange to enforce all of the property maintenance codes and other codes that are applicable to these particular properties.
Which we're very lax on, but I mean, we got to get a tighter rein on the ownership of the properties that are out there in the city of Orange, because if we're not careful, Orange is going to be a mess.
And in the meantime, a question that you might ask yourself: what is happening with those properties right now?
I see that, but if it's an opportunity for us to improve in what we're doing, we need to take advantage of that opportunity.
I agree.
So that's where I am with this whole process. I don't want to see these properties just become, places where, they're leasing them out to college students and they're just loud music playing as we have some things going on right now. Those are the types of activities I don't want to see happening.
I beg you, I implore you, this is a great deal. Please accept this deal.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, talking about the hereafter.
Councilman Mason?
Yeah, because I was getting ready to clamp his mouth together. But anyway, are you aware that I didn't think a church paid taxes?
They
know
don't.
There's a church
but
on
I was
there?
told by administration to put them on because they had an outstanding water balance, a large.
Well, I see the water balance, but he also got taxes on there.
The certificate was issued prior to me coming on board, so I don't know why they were put on tax sale or.
Would you check, because I raised this issue before the last time, and asked you guys to figure out why there's a church on there.
Is it being used as a church?
Yes, First Presbyterian, right down here on the corner. So I asked this last year why it's on the tax sale. I mean, why it's on here. So could you guys get an answer to that?
Ms. Woodville, also missing.
Can you get an answer on
Council
that?
President, I think the
Councilwoman,
attorney has an
if there is a property that's ceases to operate as a church, then it can go back on the tax rolls. I don't know.
That's what Mr.
What
Knapp
is the
just asked.
Presbyterian Church on the corner of Main and
It's still a church. It was vacant for some period of time. It wasn't operating as a church. I think it was.
Put it back on the tax roll because it was operating.
At that point, it's not.
Mr.
It's no longer operating. I don't know. I'm just.
That's what I'm saying. I think, while I understand the haste to come to the city council meeting, even the attachments regarding the persons making the bid, the attachments, their pay to play, none of those attachments are there. It's just a letter. I would just encourage administration and Mr. Mapp, this council has probably asked for consistently the same thing over and over again. And then with Councilman Johnson Jr. asking to even broaden through the web, and you haven't chosen to do that, but this right here, it doesn't give us the information, and I understand what you're saying in terms of us accepting the money, but in terms of us looking at the document and having all of the attachments, the required attachments and no signatures are there, so it would, you're putting the council in a very awkward position as well. I would say it should come back. I mean, I don't know, council, are there any other on the motion? If not, roll call, Councilman Coley.
No.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.
No.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Pass.
No for me. Do you want me to come back to you, Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
I'm gonna have to say no.
And the vote is?
4 noes, 3 yeas, one pass.
Yeah, she said 4 yeas, 2 nays. And if we could just bring it back with the required documents.
What documents?
Well, here's the thing.
That you're
Regarding the principals who are putting forth the letter, there's standard documents that go behind them, the pay to play and all of that. None of that's there. So who they are and their corporations, none of those attachments are there. Regarding the, and then your required signature and, well, the sufficiency of funds, that's not because people are paying. And it's, and then I guess in this, the ad should be attached to show us. And I guess that list that you have, it needs to be actually looked at to make sure that the part, specifically the purpose, the churches and things like that, should they have been built, just to make sure that the list is correct and current.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Matt?
All right.
And just one piece of additional information based on the question I asked about the church is that exemption is based on use and not on ownership.
No,
so that's the reason I asked.
It was a valid question. Yeah.
Okay.
We are.
Council President,
Councilwoman Eason.
and I'm going home, but the thing about it is, I didn't think we should have put this on the agenda. We did all of that effort of adding it to the agenda, and then because we knew all of this stuff was needed to be asked, and we needed to
You didn't say
request.
anything on the motion, Council.
But because I was probably half asleep when you did that. But I'm saying,
all right. So
I don't know why we went through that whole motion where we knew that it wasn't gonna fly. Oh, your watch is wrong. But I mean, in the future, before we put something on the agenda, let's make sure we don't go through the motions and then vote it down. Because we could have given her that heads up, and she could have probably been home by now. But
Motion to
it
adjourn.
makes sense to me.
Any other
Second.
pending business?
No, the meeting, motion to adjourn, motion by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
By Councilman Johnson Jr. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We adjourned at 11:30.